How lucky we ought to be alive right now. Look around, Eliza, work. And that's what I did. That's what I did it. Yeah, that's the one I did at karaoke night.
Okay.
Not gonna miss my.
Honestly, shoot straight with me. Shoot straight with me. Get it, Gary.
We got it.
I'm trying to make us look better. I turned down all these HD settings. I don't feel like we look like much different on the Roku screen. I don't know what to tell you or to tell that dude.
You talking about our FPSs?
Yeah, our FPS.
This is unwatchable, Gary.
Well, yeah. Obviously, he's doing something right because those 47 followers of his are like loyal.
Oh. People are asking if you take requests, Doc.
Yeah, I'll take requests.
Because
I guess I could probably answer that myself. Yes. Tell them I do, Gary.
Gary's not your secretary.
He does. He does take requests, everyone. If you can't hear Rob for some reason.
Gary put him in timeout again. He can't speak.
Oh my God. All right, I guess we're gonna go ahead and start, or should we wait a minute? No, we'll go ahead and start. It's 8:15. People have been waiting. People have been spending their hard-earned money to get into YouTube today. All right. What's up, you beautiful people? No, God damn it.
Oh, you got to start.
And I just said the GD word. I'm sorry, Rob. I probably offended Rob.
Sorry, man. I was going to say between us and Primetime, man, you got to think about how you spend that money. I'd spend it on Primetime.
Spending on a Roku Live subscription. You can be watching NXT right now. Oh,
save it for September 15th.
That's right.
Save it. Recommend.
Driving these nails.
You know what? Hey, if you turn that can upside down, Gary, I'm just telling Front Row and I, the good Presbyterians in the house here, will tell you that is a satanic symbol.
Yeah.
You're drinking the devil's water.
That was the joke I was making, man. I felt like I'd already been like enough sacrilegious before that was like pushing the envelope. Like I didn't want to go too far so that I actually end up literally in hell tonight. So that was where I was going with that. All right. What's up?
What's up, Primetime? Primetime's in the house.
People joining up. Tweets have gone out. We're live. What's up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horn, this is the NWA. It's the podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. You know we're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance. And I am but one of your hosts. I am here, as always, with my life partners, Dr. Robert Stinson.
Good evening, everyone.
And the mighty, hey, it's Will.Daly.
Hey, coming at you at less than 20 frames per second. What's up, everyone?
Coming to you glorious SD picture. Like, you can't.
You don't want 360p, baby. 360p.
Listen, you don't want us in HD, okay? Mm-hmm. You don't want to see it. You don't want to see our pores. This is good enough. Take what you can get, people.
I'm too pretty for HD, baby. You don't want none of that. Especially the 80 HD or the 80 or whatever.
90 HD, 100 HD, all that.
Can't do that. No, baby. SD all the way. And if you don't like it, you can ask the D. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? All right. That's too much. That's not going to get us on the official NWA YouTube channel if I keep making jokes like that. And I apologize. I haven't even introduced Whiskey Gear yet tonight. So still to come. Stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of wrestling news we're going to talk about. We got a lot of Mike Bennett versus Nick Aldis news. Are we going to hear from Mike Bennett? Could be. You got to stay tuned. You'll find out. Maybe Mike Bennett's got something to say. We don't know. Or do we? And we're going to be talking about UWN Prime Time Live. We're going to be talking about Mission Pro Wrestling. Hell Hath No Fury. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. This is the place you want to be on a Tuesday night. You got NXT on in the background, probably, if you want to watch a 1 hour fatal four-way match or no, four-way Iron Man match. That's what it is. Anyway, we are grateful for all of you. We're grateful for all of you who got us to the place that we appeared on the official NWA channel today. Thanks for everybody who was there for the premiere. If you're one of our glorious hashtag NWA fam, you've already seen that episode probably because you were here with us live hanging out, or you listened to us on the podcast and you've heard that episode. But thank you anyway if you showed up for the premiere. I watched it for the first time back and found out we look so crappy, but that's okay. No, we're not hung up on that. We are actually coming to you full of gratitude and love because we're super stoked that actually happened for us. That was a big deal. It was surreal watching ourselves finally after all this time on the NWA official YouTube page. This is the NWA podcast appeared. I can't even tell you how honored I am. And like I keep saying it, but I'm not going to get tired of saying it. Grateful I am for all of you out there who listen and watch.
Not to get super sappy, but we're only here because you guys, the hashtag NWA fam, like to hang out with us twice a week and talk to us. And so we've been doing this for the last few months because of you guys. And that's the only reason why the NWA picked up on us and put us on their channel, because we've become like a party place, a hangout place for the hashtag NWA fam. So we thank you guys for that. And we are grateful for, obviously, to the NWA, to the champ Nick Aldis, and to you guys especially for being this thing that we do. And so thank y'all for being here. Keep spreading the love, keep spreading the positivity about the National Wrestling Alliance and the future, because it is bright. And yeah, man, just keep sharing it out. Let's make the party bigger. Let's get the word out there. Because here's one thing I learned in that live chat today, watching that and interacting with all you guys. The NWA fam is a lot bigger than we thought it was. So we thought it was kind of like our little small friend group or whatever. There's a lot of people out there, close to 5,000 people that have watched that video so far. That's not tooting our horn. That's just saying there's a lot of people out there that are interested in the NWA. And if we can get the conversation going, we can bring them over here and we can liven things up and keep the NWA at the front of people's minds. We can really make it, something awesome. So thank you guys for that. I just wanted to express my gratitude.
Right. And me too. It used to be like, I'd like, we work hard and I love my job. I've been blessed with a great career and all that, but you live for the weekend. And that's, about last February or March, that all changed for me. I always lived for Tuesday nights as long as we've been in the power era, but now it's like Sunday night and Tuesday night. I can't wait to hang out with my boys. It's like, I'd rather do this than do anything. We're at the club, guys. We're at club. This is the NWA podcast. We're hanging out with our best friends. You guys are family. All of us that are in the chat now, and those of us, even if you're not on the screen, but you're in this chat and you've been coming week after week, we were all represented today, thanks to the graciousness of Nick Aldis and the production crew there at the NWA, and having us on and humbling us and really being gracious towards us. And it's like, again, it's not like it's not rocket science. We're just guys just hanging out, guys and gals just hanging out who love this sport, who love good pro wrestling. And we know it when we see it, and we know that what the NWA is offering today in the form of Tim Storm, Nick Aldis, Thunder Rosa, Allison Kay, Josephus, that it's the best thing. It's the best thing in a long, long time. We celebrate that, and it's got notice. And we're all in this together, guys. So we thank you, and just really wouldn't want to be in any other place than where I'm at right now.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better than those two gentlemen just did. NWA fam for life. Hashtag NWA fam. Thank you guys so much. Big things are coming. I feel like it's only going to get better from here. We've got some surprises in store for you, I think, coming down the road. And even tonight, maybe we'll mention a couple of things. But we're here. We're live. We're here to hang out with you. We're going to do what we always do. Back to business as usual. We're going to talk all the wrestling news there is to know so that everybody's up to date. The chat room is probably going to help correct us on things like they always have to. And then we'll end up spending time with the chat on the after show, just hanging out and just shooting the breeze about whatever comes up. If you want to be part of that, you have to join us live on YouTube, like Rob said, on Sunday nights, Tuesday nights. Probably when UWN Prime Time Live starts, it'll be Thursday nights. We'll figure that out as we get to it. But there's a lot coming up. Wrestling's about to get huge. I feel like we're headed into like almost a WrestleMania week for us, going into this situation with UWN Prime Time Live and Mission Pro Wrestling. It's going to be a huge week of wrestling. I can't wait. Not to mention, I mean, just the things like AEW All Out is this weekend. And our NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa is going to be defending her honor by trying to take Sheeta's honor and take that AEW Women's title. And we're going to be there rooting her on. I mean, I know I'm watching it now. I was like on the fence, and now I'm definitely just going to watch it because I want to see that happen. Anyway, all of that out of the way. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube. It helps us out, helps us get in front of more people. Make sure you hit the bell. You want to hit that bell because I can tell you right now, if you're curious about everything that went down today with Nick Aldis showing up on this show, and you're thinking, what would Mike Bennett think about that? You'll probably find out if you're notified of our posts. So you may want to hang out and just hit the bell, and there's a good chance you'll hear exactly what he thinks if you're following along with the NWA pod. I guess the only other thing I want to say is just make sure if you're listening to this on the podcast, if you could give us a 5-star review, just share it with your friends. That's all we ask of you. The podcast numbers are great, and we are certainly grateful for you guys out there. We know a lot of people just can't be here live on a Tuesday night. So just want to be clear that we do appreciate you. We're going to run through the wrestling news with everybody, and then we'll see what happens. But unless you guys have anything else, we'll just jump into the first news story, I guess. I'll take that as a no. All right, the first news item up on my list here is coming to us from Spork Skeeta. What a weird name. I never understood that, but I see them all over the place, so I guess they're doing all right. They got a Granger ad here and a Verizon ad and all kinds of stuff, so they're doing fine. WWE has removed all of Brock Lesnar's merchandise from the company's online stores, WWE Shop and WWE Euro Shop, and his Superstar pages on both sites no longer exist. As you can see, no, you can't see, so I'm going to skip that part. Anyway, Brock Lesnar used to have a Superstar page. It's all been removed. That's the big news. That's the long and short of it. A lot of people taken off guard by this because nobody really knew what was going on with Brock Lesnar, I guess. According to Dave Meltzer, I was, sorry, I'm that guy. I was listening to the Observer podcast earlier today, and he said that Lesnar's contracts typically end in April, and everything he could find out says that was the same case here. Lesnar's contract ended in April. That was generally what it did around WrestleMania time. And it was just that this was finally the last bit of time before they were reaching the part of the contract that you got to pull all that merch too. You can't be selling stuff with his name and his logo or his likeness on it. So that's basically what's happening here, according to him. Now the question becomes, what is Brock Lesnar going to do from here? Is Brock Lesnar just going to retire and ride off into the sunset? Is Brock Lesnar going to go back to UFC? Is Brock Lesnar going to go to AEW? What is Brock Lesnar going to do? That's the question people are asking. I guess, Rob, I see you shaking your head. I'll shoot to you first. What do you think? What do you think about Brock Lesnar and his situation? What do you think is going to happen with him?
I'm like you. When I first saw that, I was like, "Oh man, we got some controversy. We got some shenanigans going on over there in the WWE." It seems to me like this is a formal contractual thing that we don't need to read too much into it. I imagine that Brock will do what's best for him financially. I think he's probably still in the WWE's plan. So if I were to be a betting man, and again, I don't watch WWE apart from NXT, so I don't know. But my guess though would be that he's going to be renewed in some fashion. That they'll sweeten the deal for him, and he's out there playing the market right now like any good athlete does, who has to serve their own interests and do what's right for themselves and their families and whatnot. He's gonna get the best deal for him, and my bet is probably that Vince has plans for him still, and that they'll find a way to bring him back in.
It felt like a big news item for a little while, Will, but it feels like as time goes on, people are starting to think like this doesn't mean anything. Like he's just going to come out of WWE when it's time.
Well, the wrestling community, and we're part of it. We get it. We love to speculate, and we love to get excited about the possibility of cool stuff happening and stuff like that. And this is another example of that. Let's not forget, this happens every year. The rumors come out. I remember when AEW was first cranking up and people were saying that Brock's contract had run out and he was going to sign with AEW, and everybody thought that was going to happen. That's not going to happen. Like, you got to think of it from a business perspective. Why right now his contract's up? Why is WWE at this point going to shill out a bunch of money when there's no fans? He's not going to get a pop. They don't need him right now. There's no reason. Brock is good for a big crowd pop to sell tickets. They don't need it right now. So I am sure that when fans come back and they're back in front of fans, that if it makes sense, they'll make him an offer he can't refuse, because only they can afford that right now in the industry. So they'll make him an offer. He'll be back, and we'll forget that this happened again until next year. But
I can't imagine that like AEW, the amount of money it would take, like, you got to think about how much money Brock Lesnar made to do absolutely nothing in the WWE. Like, he was just barely there. And even when he was there, he was barely there. It was a weird contractual agreement. And it's like only a guy like Vince McMahon, it feels like, is the kind of person who's going to throw around that amount of money. I can't imagine that, Tony Khan's going to be willing to do that, because I just don't know that Brock Lesnar brings that kind of traction with him to AEW. I don't think, for what amount it would cost, like, is what's he going to do, for AEW? Is he going to move them into like multi-millions of buys or something like that for a pay-per-view? I just don't know. Now, the place he could is like, we don't talk a lot about MMA on here, but I've seen where John Jones is moving up into the heavyweight division in UFC. So there's speculation that, like, yeah, if you could land that match, I mean, that's like tons of millions of buys. And it's like, I think somewhere I was reading was saying, like, it would be at least a $65 million pay-per-view easy, right off the bat. Like, they could afford to like throw 20 million at Brock Lesnar and still come out on top.
Yeah. I guess I think that Brock is, I think that Brock is a needle mover just on the force of his name. I mean, there are certain places where he'd be better, but I could see him fitting in just about anywhere just off of the basis of his name. I mean, think of like in the NWA, him taking on a Jack Stane. I mean, two big guys like that, two monsters. He would be a force in the AEW, but it seems to me like the one that's got the resources, the relationship, it's WWE. I'd be surprised to see it turn out anywhere else.
Yeah, I just feel like his legacy's there. I mean, if UFC got really antsy, but I feel like also if he wanted to fight, like, he could have done it by now. The guy's in his 40s now. He's not. I can't imagine that he's ready to go get beat in the face a lot. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, but I think it sounds like we're all leaning WWE for Brock Lesnar in the future when the fans come back. So
yeah, you can't, when your career has gotten to the point that Brock Lesnar's has, you can't take a step back, and he's made a very comfortable life for himself by showing up a couple of times a year and getting the big crowd pop and selling pay-per-views for WWE. He's not going to step back into anything more full-time by any means. So, it is fun to speculate, and it's fun to fantasy book and say, oh, I'd love to see him here. I'd love to see him in this promotion. But I mean, the reality is he's going to sit and he's going to be financially sound for the rest of his life. He doesn't have to do anything, but when the time's right, and it gets WrestleMania season, and if they got crowds back, Vince will pay him way too much money to show up 3 times a year. So, and of course he'll do it because he'd be an idiot not to. So,
right, exactly. I guess we'll move away in our attempt. Well, I was going to try to move away from WWE for a minute because we don't want to be like too WWE heavy. We know it runs some of you off, but According to PW Insider, after making his return to WWE NXT as an announcer last week, Stu Bennett, aka Wade Barrett, met with WWE officials and is currently negotiating a full-time return to the company as an announcer. Bennett appeared on this past Wednesday's edition of WWE NXT and will appear as well on tomorrow's episode. Those episodes were pretty much a feeling out process to see if the two sides were interested in working together going forward. There had been WWE interest in Bennett dating back to early 2020 as an announcer. We are told that if the two sides come to terms, it would be for Bennett to announce, not return as a full-time in-ring performer. There was talk over the last few days that Bennett could perhaps be plugged into NXT UK as an announcer. This is what we're afraid of, probably. We love Stu Bennett as fans of the NWA. He's a fantastic color commentator, and we'd hate to see him go, but I don't know. The second I saw he was just like going to be visiting NXT, I was like, they're going to keep him. Like, he's too good. He's really good at it. So there you are. Thoughts, Will?
I love Stu. I loved what he brought to the table, literally at NWA Power. But yeah, I mean, this is staying in the vein of business decisions. It's a smart business decision on his part, and I don't. And this isn't meant to sound like a knock at all on Stu Bennett, but I hadn't. It wasn't to the point where I considered him like a staple in the NWA. You know what I mean? He was great at what he did, and he did add a lot. And if he stuck around, I would be happy about it. But it doesn't really feel like a crushing blow or anything. And like we always say about the NWA, talent's going to come and go, and that includes on the mic and on the headset. So, you know, there is a wealth of talent out there that will do a great job for the NWA in that spot. So I'm not worried about that spot being lost. You know, I'm happy for him if this is what he wants to do, and to get on the announce table. Where is he going to get more exposure than somewhere in WWE? Now, I hope he stays on NXT, just personally, because I think he can add a lot more on the NXT announce team than if he gets, you know, to Raw and SmackDown and he's handed lines from the back. So, you know, it's good for him, but, you know, again, we'll wait and see what happens when Power cranks back up and who they put in that spot.
It's kind of weird. I mean, I'm watching NWA, Rob, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I mean, this is actually not the worst thing that could have happened. I mean, I'll miss Stu Bennett, but, you know, since Cornette was there in kind of season 1 and Stu Bennett kind of had the season 2 thing, it's like, maybe this just has to be the way of the world that NWA Power just swaps out color commentators. Like, it's not the worst thing that could happen. It could be kind of an interesting theme they've got going.
Mm-hmm. I guess on one hand, I like Stu Bennett. I think that I love the NWA being an international entity. So I like the fact that we've got, you know, Latin America represented in Marty Bell and Thunder Rosa. I love the fact that we're seeing something of a British presence with Stu Bennett and Nick Aldis and Tom Latimer representing Scotland, you know. So I hate losing anybody that's international, especially someone with international credibility. I also hate the fact that he's leaving because he and Nick Aldis have a history, and I was kind of hoping in the back of my mind that would have played out and would have manifested that, you know, you have this ultimate thing, kind of like when Larry Zbyszko was doing commentary on Nitro, and eventually they drew him out of retirement. I was kind of hoping for that. So I'm a little bummed about it. I mean, I think, you know, Stu was the voice, along with Joe Galley, was the voice of Carney Land when Dave Lagana was doing that really remarkable but unusual project. And we were into that. So he's going to be missed. It's going to be hard to replace that voice. But, you know, and I guess the other part of me too is like, I really want there to be that legacy voice, that voice that is synonymous with the NWA. But then I think maybe we have them already. Maybe with Joe Galley, you already got him. And then gosh, man, I hate that I'm drawing a blank at this moment. You know, he was doing the thing with the Sauronaro.
Kyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe you already got your core team there between him and Joe Galley. And but I'd love to see someone just emerge as that legacy voice that when I was growing up, it was Tony Schiavone, it was Dave Crockett, it was Bob Caudle, it was Gordon Soley. Who's going to be that voice? We were hoping it would have been Jim Cornette and then Stu Bennett. Things change and people have to do what's right for them. But whenever there's something that happens like this, an opportunity is there to create something or to invest in something that can become that. But Joe,
Bob, I've got I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want you to know I have sometimes I get like feedback in my headset from people that I won't name names, but I did get a special message that people are watching this sometimes that you don't know are watching it. And somebody definitely sent me a message that said, LOL, please tell Stinson Tom is not Scottish. And so just so you know, we gotta let's clear that up right now. Tom Latimer is not Scottish.
Okay. For some reason, I was operating under the assumption that it was. That's on me. Now I'm gonna look that junk up, so I don't make that mistake again.
Where'd you get your doctorate?
From the University of Edinburgh.
Oh man. So anyway,
I thought it was Welsh or Scottish.
Our NWA overlords are watching. Just be aware. And so they're chiming in tonight already.
He's English. My bad. Maybe it was the kilt that he would wear that would just he's doing a Scottish thing. So I'm sorry. My apologies. He's British. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, we've cleared that up. Stinson's mouth got the best of him here. The whole Stu Bennett thing, by the way, comes off the heels of another big announcement in the wrestling world this week. It makes a lot of sense that NXT is looking to replace some personnel. According to BleacherReport.com, NXT lead announcer Mauro Ranallo.
Nailed it.
Mauro Ranallo is leaving WWE. The organization announced on Monday night that WWE released a statement noting it was a mutual agreement. WWE and Mauro Ranallo have mutually and amicably agreed to part ways. Mauro's passion and enthusiasm left an indelible and exciting mark with WWE. I can't talk.
It's like it's like they wrote this article with words that Gary can't pronounce really well, just to
I know,
trip him
it's
up.
the weirdest.
Like he's reading Gaelic right now.
Oh my God. Anyway, point being, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, you know that guy. He provided a statement from Ranallo, actually, and it says, quote, "I appreciate the opportunity I had to realize my childhood dream of working in sports entertainment, and I wish the WWE well in the future. Now I want to direct my focus and devote my time to my other projects and to my mental health charitable activities and the well-being of my mother and myself." So basically, Mauro had come in originally back in 2017, I think, doing work on SmackDown. I think he was in NXT and moved into SmackDown. And then there was the whole scenario there. I think some issues came up and he took a break. He later worked out a deal to come back, but only to NXT. And then he was on there for a while. So he says about 5 years. So he lived his childhood dream of working on the show for 5 years. He did have some issues. I think his mother fell ill, and so he traveled back to see her, and that's where he's been lately. He's been doing some stuff, I think, from where he was at, but it just looks like he's made the decision that it's just not for him. He's not ready to be under that stress and that environment. So unfortunately, for the WWE, Mauro Ranallo is taking his leave. He's still going to be working with Bellator and doing his boxing stuff and that sort of thing. So he's not completely out of the game, but he's just not going to be working, at least in WWE wrestling at this point.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. I mean, he was the highlight of NXT takeovers for me. That was kind of the treat that I would always forget about when I would, tune into a takeover and be like, oh yeah, we get Mauro. This is great. But he just had like an infectious energy, and it's something that can't really be faked. Like it's just something he has, and not every commentator has it. And it was just really refreshing to hear that. So, I hope he stays into sports, specifically combat sports, MMA, boxing, all that kind of stuff. Because I think he's a really valuable asset to that. But understandably, he wants to take care of his family and put some efforts towards some other things. He's earned it. He's put in the work and the time and has honed his craft. So I hope wish him the best from here on out. I will say, when you talk about a prize fight, though, who do you want on that mic other than Mauro Ranallo? I'm just saying, I know it's a pipe dream, but could you imagine him calling Nick Aldis versus Mike Bennett on that first episode of Primetime Live? I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's even a possibility, in the realm of possibility, but that would be amazing.
I'm already on this, bro. I've been thinking about this exact same thing. I'm glad you brought it up. Is like, I was reading this news earlier today and just thinking about it and just like, man, it sucks to lose Stu. Love it some Stu Bennett. But think about that. Like Mauro Ranallo, he's just not looking for that schedule anymore. Wonder what if? Not even just him, by the way. Nigel McGuinness is out there. Like, I loved him on NXT. The stuff I saw with him, that guy was one of the best commentators they had going too for a while there. And like, what's he doing now? They like furloughed that guy, and he's just hanging out there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it feels like no matter what, there's opportunity out there for somebody to sit alongside Joe Galley. And I kind of like that Joe Galley's like your consistent voice of the brand there. Oh, yeah. But and then you can swap in and out otherwise. But Rob, you feel comfortable with that? You think there's a possibility someday that we might see some flashy new people in the commentator booth?
Oh yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying earlier, anytime something like this happens, there's opportunity. I mean, there's that color personality that we don't know yet, and then there are others out there. I mean, so we'll see. And again, I think we're already sitting on our guy, and it's probably Joe Galley. But Dave Marquez has his hands in a lot of things, but he has been indispensable as far as being a voice, and so we'll see what happens. Bottom line, best of wishes to Stu, man. I mean, he deserves every good thing that comes his way, and I'm excited for him with this opportunity. NXT is a brand that I do watch and am entertained by, and it's very closely related to the prize fight that we all enjoy and have come to prize.
I see. You said it. You said the word twice. That's funny.
You said prize.
It means to drink
it.
Oh, game we play.
Take a sip. No, one thing I like about us as the hashtag NWA fam, obviously I can't speak for everybody, but I know for us three, we always look at these opportunities that when somebody gets a chance to go put themselves on a larger stage and show what they can do, whether it be a Ricky Starks or an Eddie Kingston or a Stu Bennett, it sucks to see them go, but we're happy to see them succeed. And so no ill will here, except the one right here.
Except for me, ill will right here.
Word. And you'll see regularly. You'll see Corrigan, when Lagana was with the company, he would say the same thing. Nick Aldis has always been very, very indulgent with people who have gone off and have done well for themselves. So there's no bad blood there. He's given the NWA great service. The NWA is a meta promotion. So anywhere that Stu serves the NWA, anywhere he serves wrestling, he serves the NWA. So best of luck to him.
One last bit of commentator news. Week after he was originally slated to make his return to AEW Dynamite, Dave Meltzer is also reporting that Excalibur is scheduled to return on this Wednesday show. The popular color commentator and co-founder of PWG will make his announcing return on Tuesday as part of the Dark announce team. It's unclear why he didn't return last Wednesday, but he's been off TV since Taz replaced him on Wednesday, July 29th. Neither he nor AEW have addressed the absence. but it is believed to be due to a PWG angle for 17 years ago involving Kevin Steen, Human Tornado, and Disco Machine that included a racial slur that he didn't want to become a distraction to the company after it reemerged on social media recently. He, of course, has been a fixture on the announcing desk with Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone for as long as Aew Dynamite's been on. So it was kind of interesting that he's been taking this break. So maybe he just was, like it said, trying to avoid the distraction or whatever. But it does appear Excalibur is coming back. I've seen some people talking about it. Actually, I'm seeing in the chat right now. I don't have it on right in front of me, but apparently he was on Dark tonight. So there you go.
Yep. I don't know. I say I don't know all the details. I haven't watched the promo. I don't know the nature of it. I don't really enjoy getting into that kind of stuff, but it's kind of up to them whether or not they think it was bad enough to do anything about it. I know it was years and years ago, but there's been a lot of that in wrestling, unfortunately, lately, and just a lot of things that were done and said that were just careless. And hopefully they're taking it seriously, and hopefully he's done the right thing. But you can't really speculate or go into detail about it.
Guys, I feel on fire today. I feel like we're just like blasting through this news, like with a new focus, a new vigor that we didn't have before. Because something, I don't know, maybe it was just because it's like, oh, we're like this close to being professional, so we gotta turn it up. So
we got a long way, man. We got like bit rates and frames per second to worry about. We a long way from that, bro.
I know.
We're just guys at the club, man. We're just guys at the club.
I'm just saying, I don't know. Maybe not much has changed for Rob, but Gary showed up sober and ready to work. So I'm
Presbyterian. I'm Presbyterian, which incidentally is a Scottish denomination. So there's
the only Scot here.
I'm German. I'm not a Scot. Don't you dare say that about me. But it is
okay. Well, I don't know what's so offensive about this. My grandparents were definitely Scottish, so I don't get
that's the least offensive thing about you, Gary.
Okay, fair enough. Wow, my eye looks like super red with this light on it. Look at that, so weird. Anyway, gotta fix that. It's probably like a low frame rate thing or something. Okay. Again, thank you everybody who's joining us in the chat. We love you guys. This has been a great day overall, and we couldn't be happier. And make sure you hit the subscribe if you're watching and you're new. It would be really cool of you to join us. All right, next bit of news. We're going to stick with AEW for just a second and Dave Meltzer for just a second. Unplanned. But here we go. How about this? Let's just only use Dave Meltzer as a source from here on out.
Oh yeah, that'll go over really well.
People will love it. But according to Dave Meltzer, Thunder Rosa will be making her AEW in-ring debut this Wednesday on Dynamite.
Yeah.
So he didn't give her opponent, but he mentioned her appearance while going over the rundown for this week's edition of the show. As we all know, the current NWA Women's Champion made a surprise appearance. Wow, I am really having trouble.
Nailed it.
She showed up several weeks ago, basically, and challenged Hikaru Shida. You all know that. We all know who Thunder Rosa is, so I'm not going to waste time building all of that up. But she's going to be taking on Hikaru Shida at AEW All Out. I did not expect her to fight before that. But here we go. At the go-home show for the pay-per-view, she'll be taking on a mystery opponent. That event will also feature Jon Moxley versus MJF's lawyer, Mark Sterling, Chris Jericho versus Joey Janela, Jurassic Express and Young Bucks versus Private Party and SCU, with the winners facing each other on Saturday at the pay-per-view, and the Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz. Guys, Thunder Rosa going to have an early match, one match on Wednesday. That also, by the way, that seems shady of the Khan family to put Thunder Rosa in a match on Wednesday and then make her fight the champ on Saturday.
The work is in, man. The work is in.
You may be right. That's weird. Well, does that make you want to tune into AEW even more just to see the champ take on somebody?
Oh, obviously. I want to see her make her in-ring debut for AEW. I'm on the fence about it because obviously I'm an NWA fan. I don't think it's necessary that she would have to be in a match before All Out. I think Thunder Rosa is in a class of her own when it comes to being a world-class wrestler. And I think just her promo alone and her clout as a wrestler was enough to get me to buy in. But I can see if people aren't as familiar with the NWA as we are, they haven't seen her work, and their only exposure was that video package they showed last week. That it's going to serve to get her over more with the crowd. I mean, once they see her in the ring, if they've never seen her in the ring before, right? If you're an AEW fan and you've never seen Thunder Rosa, you maybe heard of her. It's going to get her over with the fans, 100%. So I think it'll serve that purpose. But again, I go back and forth. I don't think it was necessary, but maybe they did, and I'm sure it's going to be stellar, and she's going to come out looking great. And whoever she faces, God help them. It might be a squash match, to be honest. So her in-ring debut might be 35 seconds. Who knows? Depends on who it is. So, but yeah, I'll be watching, checking it out.
Oh, we already normally at the Stinson household, we record AEW, and my wife and I go to this little comedy club down there. It's shut down for a while, but it's been open back to limited capacity, and that's kind of what we do on Wednesday night, church night. That's church for us, Presbyterians, right? We'll be watching. We'll be staying here to check this out. Just because we feel vested and we have a particular interest in anything that Thunder Rosa does, just like we have a similar interest in anything that Aldis does. Just because the titles they carry mean so much to the wrestling world, and there's such an import to this reemergence of the defending or the appearing of our NWA talent on this national stage. I mean, I don't know if it's in the topics tonight, but I hope we don't pass over or gloss over the fact that for the first time in 219 days, Nick Aldis defended the World's Championship, just a couple of days ago in a spectacular match that's getting fantastic reviews. And Thunder Rosa was on that same card. I didn't get to see it. I'm going to purchase the event. I'm just busy at school and all that, but I'm going to be watching Thunder Rosa live tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And yeah, absolutely. If you go on Fight TV right now, you can check out that Independent Wrestling Expo that occurred in Texas this past weekend. And the champ did defend the NWA Championship. You got Thunder Rosa versus Alex Gracia in an excellent match. It's definitely worth your time checking it out. It's $9.99 for just night 2 where both our champs appeared, or it's $15 for both nights. So well worth it if you just want some extra wrestling action. There's a lot of people in that show. Alex Hammerstone's there. Jordan Grace is there. Gangrel's in like the opening match. It's kind of interesting. You got to check it out. A lot of people showed up at that. I still don't know because it looked like nobody showed up to the thing, and I don't mean that as a knock against them. I just mean given the current environment, I was concerned about that myself. And it's just like, man, how did they pay for this thing? This is crazy. They had quite a lineup, and I don't think anybody that was in the ring took their job any less seriously. They definitely did a good job.
Hey, and let me. I want to make sure I said it right. It's not the 219th day of his reign. 219th day since his last title defense, for the first time in 219 days, when he defended the title against Flip Gordon on January the 24th. Nick Aldis was able to step into the ring again, defending the belt that he's been wanting to defend. And hopefully we'll get into this debate too later, because this has come up in our Discord and some of the social media chat about how do we deal with the COVID situation and what does that mean for the number of days? And it's just, I don't know. I have some very strong feelings about that, but hopefully we'll get into that. I just want to make sure I didn't overstep my mouth again like I did earlier, and be clear that this was not the 219th day of the reign, but the 219th day since the previous defense. No one was more eager to see that title defended than the champ himself. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a big shout out, by the way, while we still can here, and while we're still a little early in the show, to the Busted Open Nation family. They are blowing up our chat today. You guys are amazing. You can join the Busted Open Nation Discord and the Nation Show. They do some really good stuff. A lot of great, like, rotating lists of hosts, and just have awesome guests. I think tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, they've got Nikita Koloff coming in the morning or early afternoon. We can try to make sure to repost that when we see it, but we just want to give a big shout out to the Busted Open Nation. Obviously, Dave LaGreca and Bully Ray, Mark Henry, Tommy Dreamer, all those folks on the regular serious show that you know of, Busted Open. There's a whole fan community called the Busted Open Nation. If you're not already aware of that, you can join and be a part of. And there are a lot of cool people that just love wrestling and positive energy all the way around from that crew. So it's one of the reasons we love them so much. So grateful for you guys being here with us tonight. Thank you so much for doing that. That's really cool of you for hanging out with us. All right, and we will move on to another piece of news. I'm going to give you one more article from Dave Meltzer. Subi, he's the best news source. I don't care what you think. Like, he's just got all the stuff like lined up and easy to read for me, as easy, and I need it because you've heard me try to read it. But anyway, right now, this is the last one for a while.
You obviously haven't been reading the content from Champagne and Oysters or whatever they are.
You know what it is? The problem is like the resolution on my screen is so low, I can't tell what he's typing. And so Champagne and Oysters, I apologize that our FPSs aren't up to par. So if you were watching Monday Night Raw, you did see that Rey Mysterio wanted to compete in a tournament, I believe, for #1 contendership for the WWE Championship. Obviously, Rey Mysterio couldn't participate because he said he was injured. Dominic entered that competition instead, which is crazy when you think about it, by the way, that Dominic could have been in the pay-per-view main event for the WWE Championship. But that aside, the injury referred to on Raw involving Rey Mysterio is legitimate. That is not a joke. It did take place on Sunday night in his payback match where he teamed with Dominic against Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. WWE referred to the injury as a triceps tear, and that does appear to be likely what the real injury is. As of right now, it's not thought to be as serious as a full tear that would require surgery. So that's the difference of like maybe a month or two as opposed to several months. And which is good for Rey because he's kind of central on the storyline right now. Yeah, I think that according to Meltzer, the word going around tonight is that Mysterio is expected out of action for 2 months or maybe less, and he'll be able to recover through rehab. No surgery needed. Like I said before, he was supposed to face Rollins originally, but here we are. So anyway, Rey Mysterio out of action, and Dominic got the rub there, but thoughts overall on this whole situation?
It's a bummer.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Will. I just wanted to take a sip of something. So I was trying to...
Oh, sorry. I can say it slower. Go ahead and take a sip.
I'll do that.
It's a bummer. Yeah, it's a bummer.
All right. I feel good. All right. You know what? It really does suck because I guess Rey Mysterio's eyeballs grew back and he is signed back with the WWE, and that's fine. God bless you. And, you do what's best for your family. And we just talked about not talking trash about people for doing what they have to do. But could they book Rey Mysterio any worse than they always do? And then it's like Dominic's there to just get his tail beat this week on Raw from everything I saw. Like, even Dominic's mama is watching and just like so disappointed with life and everything. And I don't know what the storyline is. I don't know. Does this mean like maybe the whole Mysterio family is just going to be like, you know what, Ray, we're just going to hang out with Seth. I don't really know what they're doing, but it annoys the hell out of me, honestly. So I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, it's on brand for the WWE to squander world-class talent. So Not surprised.
Well, at least Randy Orton's there, and he'll face Drew McIntyre again.
Right, Rob?
Yep.
If anybody knows his WWE, it is Dr. Rob Stinson, the doctor of WWE. We call him sometimes. All right, so I was saving this till Rob got back because I was trying to drag it through. Will wasn't being very helpful, but I was trying to tiptoe through the Rey Mysterio story to get to the next one I had here, which is courtesy of PW Insider. It was actually requested from our chat room, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. I have not seen this prior till right now, so we're going to talk about this because it's worth mentioning because I want to cover everybody that we can cover and give a fair shake, and this involves Ring of Honor. So according to PW Insider, we've got here everything you need to know about the ROH Pure Title Tournament that's coming up. So this is the article. The field is set for the ROH Pure Title Tournament, which begins airing on the Ring of Honor Wrestling television show the weekend of September 12th, and it will play out over 8 weeks. Rob, why are you grinning? I've got it on gallery view so everybody can see. And you're just sitting there staring straight ahead at us, and you just keep like those beautiful pearly whites just keep flashing, and you're just like you look so happy. And
I'm happy. I'm a happy person, man. I'm with my boys. I'm with my family in the chat. I'm just reading through I've got the pop out chat right beside our Zoom, so I'm kind of reading the comments, and I just saw my man TJ Rockfist say Barney Stinson. I'm like, Neil Patrick Harris, I'll take it.
I had a buddy who just fancied himself that he was the Barney Stinson of our friend group. So, all right. So anyway, starts September 12th, plays out over 8 weeks. The bracket will be revealed on ROH Week by Week on YouTube on Monday, September 7th at 1 p.m. And it was announced on last week's episode that one of the first round matches pits longtime friends and rivals Matt Sydal and Delirious against one another. The other competitors in this tournament are, because we're going to need some insight here, Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle, Jonathan Gresham, Tracy Williams, Kenny King, Silas Young, David Finley, Rocky Romero, PJ Black, Josh Woods, and independent stars Fred Yehai, I'm sorry that I don't know that name, Tony Deppen, Wheeler Yuta, and Rust Taylor. There will be alternate competitors in case any of the participants are unable to compete. I feel like that was thrown in there because that will definitely be a thing that happens at some point. All right. So here's the format of the tournament. The competitors will be divided into 2 blocks. It's single elimination. Round 1 matches have a 15-minute time limit. Semifinals have a 20-minute time limit, and block finals have a 30-minute time limit. The tournament final has a 1-hour time limit. There will be 3 judges for each match, and time limit draws will go to a judge's decision. ROH Director of Operations, Gary Juster, has been announced as one of the judges. Now, all of that seems simple enough, right? You got those blocks, you got the time limits on each round, fair enough. But here are the rules for the pure matches as follows. This is ROH Pure. This is different. Every match has to begin and end with a code of honor handshake. Each wrestler has 3 rope breaks to stop submission holds and pinfalls. After a wrestler exhausts his rope breaks, submission and pin attempts on or under the ropes by his opponent are legal. Closed fist punches to the face are not permitted. Only open-handed slaps or chops to the face are allowed. Punches to other parts of the body are permitted, excluding low blows. The first use of a closed fist will get a warning. The second will result in disqualification. As in standard ROH matches, there will be a 20 count when the wrestler is on the floor. Outside interference will result in automatic termination from the roster for the wrestler that interferes.
Jesus Christ, that took a turn.
Not for the match, from the roster. You will be fired if you interfere in these matches.
I read the rules and I must have missed that. So that kind of took me off.
Once a pure champion is crowned, the title can change hands via disqualification and count out. The pure title
can or can't?
It can. Can change hands by disqualification and count out. The pure title was created in 2004 with AJ Styles defeating CM Punk in a tournament final to become the first pure champion. The title subsequently was held by stars such as Samoa Joe, Jay Lethal, Nigel McGuinness. In August 2006, then ROH World Champion Bryan Danielson defeated McGuinness to unify the titles. Thus, that retired the Pure Championship. It was announced earlier this year, though, that the Pure title was being revived due to popular demand. So this is the new title for well, not a new title, obviously, like I just said. They're bringing it back. So I'm seeing in the chat, like James H. Jackson Jr. just like chiming in here. The Pure title went away in the first place because it was too confusing for people. And so I could see that being an issue with this. It's kind of neat though. Like it's kind of an interesting, I don't know, maybe I'm a sucker for interesting special rules for a championship, but I don't know. Rob, I see the grimace on your face, like the confusion. I need to know what is Doctor, the historian, what do you think about the ROH Pure title coming back here in this tournament?
All right, I think secondary titles have to serve a specific purpose, and I think you can have too many of them. Usually, one or two secondary championships are good. I think there's a role for a belt for smaller guys, like say a Rowdy Robbie Stinson. There's a title for him. You know what I mean? Then there's a title for the heavyweights. Your Nick Aldises, your Will Martins, your Gary Horns, as it were. Then there is a title to be defended on the show. I like the name, the Pure title, but if you're evoking pure competition, then why not just make it the rules for the regular title? You know what I'm saying? And there are things about that I really do like in prize fighting, because that's what I'm about. I like the idea that you have to shake. They do it in boxing. They do it in MMA. You got to shake before the match starts. I like that. I like the rest.
I used to always think that was a cool part of ROH.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. The code, I like that. The idea of a title changing hand on a disqualification or a count out, I have a lot of problems with that. Just because I think there are too many contingencies that were a clear cut victory. A match should decisively determine a victor. Like when you win that match, you have a panel of judges that sit there and by majority of the decision they say this guy won. Like when Flair and Sting wrestled at Clash of the Champions, they had a panel of judges, of people that could weigh in and say, by my estimation, this person clearly won, and you have to have a majority to win. Or I like there to be a pinfall where this person, by gentleman's rules, pin his opponent's arms to the mat. To me, to win a match, you either have to submit or have your arms pinned to the match. If you're disqualified, then the title doesn't change hands. Maybe the title is vacated. Maybe Ric Flair in 87, 88 was doing that often with Lex Luger and all that. He was purposely getting himself disqualified. In that case, even though I think Ric Flair is the greatest champion of all time, I think that it would have been appropriate to maybe vacate the title, but you don't hand the title over until the person has physically earned it. So there's that. I want to say something about Dalton Castle because I remember, and maybe I'm thinking it was on the live show. It may have been in our pre or post show discussion, but I remember a couple of months ago saying that I think that Dalton Castle is someone that I would love to see Nick Aldis wrestle. I think this guy is a prize fighter. This is a guy who styles himself in the old Gorgeous George model. He's heavily influenced by Ric Flair, like Nick Aldis says. He's heavily influenced by Briscoe and by Harley Race, but particularly Gorgeous George. And he's very flamboyant, but this guy can go. At one point, he was in the top 10 or top 20 in the PWI top 500, and hopefully we'll get into that topic later also. But this is a guy that he can be a prize fighter. And the name, Dalton Castle. My hometown, I was born in Dalton, Georgia, baby. So this guy has the potential to be another one of my top tier guys, along with an Aldis or a Flair or a Thunder Rosa, or a Josephus. I mean, this guy has the makings of being a real big guy. But, I mean, those are just some random thoughts. I think there's a lot of good things here. I don't want to make it too difficult. Occam's razor, the simplest solution is usually the best. Prize fighting shouldn't be so formulaic to where you have to have a paper, pen, and pad and jot things down to keep up with it. It should be, hey, whoever pins a guy's shoulders to the matter makes him quit. That's who wins. And if you're going to call it the pure championship, then just apply the pure rules to the regular title.
Yeah, I could see what you mean. It's kind of interesting. On one hand, I'm with you. Like, why don't they just apply to the regular title? But God, you're right. I mean, in a sense, like what's the difference except there's weird rules for both, or compared to each other. But it's like, because I see it being valuable.
What purpose does it serve other than a title to be defended? See, there should be a title for weight classes. It's not fair for a smaller guy, like say who's a notable really small guy, like, and I know Rey Mysterio's won heavyweight championships, but who's a small guy? Like, see, I never thought that a Stan Hansen versus like a Sam Houston. That's not a realistic match for me. Sam Houston's a little guy, obviously talented, but he's not gonna beat a Stan Hansen. I mean, in a prize fight, the metrics just don't work out. There's got to be a championship that a cruiserweight or a light heavyweight can win and contend and be the best in the world at that. That's what they do in boxing. And then you've got to have a championship that is regularly defended on TV for the fans, that doesn't bear the weight of the world's title, but still has world title, it's still near that level. I mean, it still has that validity. So what purpose does the pure championship hold that the other titles don't hold?
Here's my take on it. I like it. I'm kind of a little bit like you, Gary, in the sense that I think it's cool. I don't like gimmick matches or tournaments or things like that, but I think it's cool, and I like the the callback and the pure aspect of it. My take on it is I don't think it should be a title. I think it should just be a tournament. They should just do it every year, and whoever wins it is that year's pure champion winner, pure tournament winner or something like that. Kind of like AEW did with like the diamond ring that MJF won, the diamond dozen or whatever they called it. Like, just do it like a yearly tournament. Don't make it something that is then going to turn around and be defended. Cause then you get into this gray area of like, I was reading up on the history of it, and it's like, every time you defend it, it's got to be pure title rules and stuff like that. I think it would be fun and interesting if it was just a once a year tournament. That person is the winner. It's an accolade they can put on their resume. It's a pride thing. Give them a ring or something like that. But like, don't make it a title that's in line with all the other titles that then becomes a fixture and has feuds built around it and stuff like that.
Like the Crockett Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the Crockett Cup, and just say, hey, that's an accolade. Make it prestigious, but don't make it a title that's going to then turn around and be defended. I think that's where it gets gray for me, where it's like, okay, where do we go from here? And you gotta, there are a lot of rules, and that's cool for that one tournament. But then if you're going to take and apply all these rules to every pay-per-view after that, or every TV match where it's defended, it just gets a little convoluted.
You make a good point. And now listening to both of you, like, I'm kind of anti this thing. Now I'm like, screw you, ROH. No, I'm not. I'm glad you guys are coming back, but it is interesting. I see, just to reference the chat, James A. Jackson Jr. here, throwing out that ROH now has a world's heavyweight title, world tag team title, world 6-man tag team title, world television title, and a Women of Honor title, and now a pure title. And so that's, goes back to what Rob was talking about. The doc was saying there can be too many titles. That's probably pushing it right there. I would say stepping over the line, honestly. So it's interesting. Yeah, I think a cup idea or a ring or something like that makes a lot more sense. Or just because it's easier to understand, like, what the difference is between the world title and the tag titles, or a cruiserweight title, or something like that. You know, the pure title seems to have like no other specific rules involved except, I mean, if you're already going to do like a television title or an intercontinental title or something, then why bother?
Exactly. I mean, just an analogy. I'm 175 pounds, bro. Now, chisel stone, mind you, 175 pounds. If I decide to,
I've seen him naked. It's true, not on purpose, but I have.
Okay. Well, we'll save that for the after dark.
No,
but
don't add him on Instagram.
If I decided, hey, I want to pursue a career in boxing, what is my goal? Obviously, what is any boxer's goal? When Nick Aldis entered professional wrestling, you know, back in the early 2000s, you know, 2006, 2007, 2005, that time frame, obviously, this is a guy who was a bodybuilder. He did the thing with the gladiators, and the guy, he's always looked great. He's always been competitive. He won multiple national level championships in school. I mean, this is a guy who entered this business to rise to the top of the business. He didn't enter it to be a middle card guy, and he never was. I don't care what you say about Brutus Magnus or whatever Nick Aldis did, he always did to the nines. He always did it fantastically with the goal of being at the top. Same thing with Eli Drake. Same thing with James Storm. Same thing with Tim Storm. They're always shooting for that top. When James Buster Douglas, I saw his name mentioned, entered into professional boxing, his goal was to win the World Heavyweight Championship. When Mike Tyson entered, it was to win the World Championship. In combat sports, your goal is to win the title. And there are titles for different weight classes. And then the rationale behind a TV title is we're going to throw something to our fans to have a championship defended on every show. That makes sense to me. But all these other tiers of championships are just gimmicks. And like Will said, just put them in a tournament, man. You win this prize once a year. It's not a championship. I mean, it is, but it's not something that you defend. It's something that you win once a year. Other than that, it just becomes convoluted.
It does seem like it would get confusing having like back to back. You have the world title and the pure title like matches or something. It's like, oh wait, to any casual fan, I feel like especially it would be like, what? Why are the rules different here? I do want to reference something Andrew McKinney said in our chat too. He said, speaking of the rules, if you guys want to offer more thoughts on those, Andrew McKinney said, I'd like to see more matches called as no contest as opposed to disqualification. A no contest is more like a mistrial in my mind, whereas a disqualification is like a steroid test failure or something. Yeah.
Fortunately, you don't see many of those in the NWA. Mostly those matches were fought to a conclusion. You've seen time limit draws. We've not seen many no contests or disqualifications in the modern iteration. And that's because it's prize fighting. You know, the competitors are in there and they're in there to win. They're not in there to hit someone with a steel chair or to escape or something like that. You know, whatever you think about heels or faces, Nick Aldis never cheats to win ever. And, he goes in there and he fights a match. Thunder Rosa doesn't cheat to win. Allison Kay doesn't cheat to win. In fact, the last person I saw cheat to win was Tim Storm, believe it or not, with the low grown blow.
Well, he didn't win.
Come on now. Don't put me on. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm just saying. So I'm okay with it if there's the thing is it's weird. Like I agree with it if there's a purpose for it. And like you're throwing out there, so I'm seeing in the chat that the point of the TV title getting brought up. And it's like in the NWA, the TV title exists that you have a 6:05 time limit to get this thing done. And if you can win it, then you've got to survive. What was it? Like best of seven or?
Yep, 7.
Yeah. And lucky 7.
Lucky 7 rule.
Yeah. And if you can survive 7 matches with that NWA TV title, then you get a world title shot. So that makes sense. That's like a different thing. You know, I don't know. I really dig that aspect of it. I was worried about the TV title coming back, but when they introduced like all of that and they established that as the context of the TV title, it made perfect sense. It's like, here's another chance for you to get an opportunity at the world title, whereas you might not if you're worried about moving up through the rankings or everything else being fair, all you got to do, go get that TV title, last 7 matches, and you'll get a shot. But they're all still going for the world title. Like you said, the national title is treated in this way of you're automatically the number 1 contender for the world's heavyweight championship if you're the national champion. It's almost like you could even cash that in a sense. So I'm with you on some of those things. I don't like I hate the idea that you could lose a title from like punching somebody in the face twice, but at the same time, I guess like in MMA or anywhere else, if you get disqualified, I guess you lose the title too, right? So I don't know.
Sometimes they're vacated.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next thing. This is gonna probably, God help us, this is probably gonna spark even more discussion than the previous thing. Braun Strowman revealed during WWE Network's latest Chronicle episode that it was actually his own idea to go bald. So big point of contention here between the show and everybody in the chat, I feel like. So get your responses ready. But Braun was in the barber's chair getting his head shaved off, and the former Universal Champion admitted that he called up Vince McMahon and said, "It's time to get rid of this crappy hair." McMahon wasn't so sure and asked why he fancied making this change so suddenly. So I love that I put this on gallery view anytime I'm talking about something WWE, and Rob just like checks out. Like he's just like out. He's just like, I don't care.
I'm over here looking at my MySpace, man. Looking at Ozzy Albies' wrist injury.
Strowman said his hair looked bad, and he reasoned that his on-screen character was about to turn heel and get a little nasty. After a brief pause, Vince said he needed 24 hours to work things out with legalities, licensing, and everything else. When Braun texted him the next day, the boss sent him a thumbs up emoji, and that was the go-ahead. He was pleased, and he looked at the haircut as a refresher for his character, and he'd been considering getting rid of his receding hairline for a while, but knew he needed WWE's permission for booking an appointment with his barber. The only reason that I bring up that garbage news story is that, fun fact for you, but as Rob would say, 2, it's just so funny to me that you have to run everything through licensing to like even cut your hair in the WWE. That's just crazy to me. I want to know if it's that way in like AEW right now that they have action figures or whatever. It's like, that just seems like such a weird thing to me. Like, I'm going to alter anything about my appearance, I have to run it up the corporate ladder to see if that's okay.
Yeah, this is definitely the most newsworthy thing we'll talk about all night, arguably. But just imagine, first of all, we all know that having a shaved head does make you look more badass, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
And we can all agree that that's true. But secondly, imagine having to run every decision that you make through your boss and waiting 24 hours to get a thumbs up emoji. The whole story just like struck me as hilarious. Just a glimpse at what it's like to be a professional wrestler in the world wrestling entertainment world. Just blows my mind.
It's weird. Rob, you go ahead and talk about this for a minute, please.
I was just going to say, first of all, point A, bald is beautiful.
Thank you.
Point 2, yeah, I've got some friends here who, I've got a friend, Lex Lee, who appeared as Gary Graham a couple of times in WWE, and it was just as, what do we call it? What was the term we used for that? Enhancement talent. They appeared as enhancement talent, but he was just describing to me, one, how surreal it was to do this and how great of an experience it was. But he was just overwhelmed with how like minute and how overseeing the eyes of the WWE are with like, this is what you say. This is how much time you have to say it. This is what you do. The nature of the control is like Big Brother level. You know what I mean? And compared to in the world that I live, move, and breathe in, which is in public education, where it's parenting basically. And from time to time, I get to do this thing with the local independent wrestling organization that I've really grown fond of. But you go out there and and from what I hear from people that work at Impact and Ring of Honor and AEW, like Sunny Days. Sunny Days is someone who works in production, but has done some things on air for them. There's a lot of latitude given. I don't know. I've never operated at that level with those kinds of productions. I know in the independent wrestling world, there's not that much level of control, and that probably accounts for a lot of the mistakes and a lot of this foolishness that you see out there. But it's very vibrant. I mean, fans like it. They get into it. Most independent promotions have small but very devoted crowds and all that. So I don't know. I mean, I think at some point when you're doing something on a national level, there has to be a level of quality control, and there has to be some level of censorship and some direction management going on. Just because you're talking about a multi-million-dollar production with lots of stuff going out with lots of eyes, and you don't obviously want to have someone go on there live and just go on a rant that's going to embarrass the company or be subversive or anything like that. So there has to be some sort of level of control. But at the same point, from what I'm hearing, and you guys are probably hearing the same thing that I'm hearing, the WWE seems to be the most controlling, the most domineering. People talk about going to AEW and feeling like free, feeling able to breathe, and feeling able to really be themselves. Eddie Kingston talked about that, Of course, he said that same thing about the NWA and whatnot, but I don't know. I'm not there. It just seems to me that from what I hear about the WWE and from the friends that I know that have been there, the WWE is very, 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 very scripted.
Well, and this is similar to kind of, how Gary is with us, because it's in our contract. I think that if we ever want to shave our beard, we have to run it through Gary. And he has to go through all the licensing stuff and work all that out.
Well, first of all, yeah, I was asking just strictly so that maybe you guys would take a second to try to understand the kind of things that you go through trying to run a proper corporation. One thing you guys never have to ask me about shaving, though, is your balls. And that's because we're sponsored by manscaped.com. So if you haven't already, you got to check out manscaped.com. They've got precision engineered tools for your family jewels. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months designing the perfect manscaping trimmer. Don't shake your head, Rob. Don't shake. You don't get bare like that without the Manscaped tools. You've got all kinds of stuff. They got ball lotion. They got it's an amazing set. You got to check it out. They got a cool little leather bag you can get to carry everything in. The Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0 comes with a USB charging stand. It looks beautiful. And it's quiet stroke technology. I mean, there's so many things I could say about it, but you should just really check out everything for yourself. That's why you need to go to manscaped.com. Use the code NWAPod for 20% off and free shipping from manscaped.com. If you're hearing me talk right now, I want you to check it out. Go do it. TJ, I see you in the chat. Get your Manscaped. Turbo, have you got your Manscaped? Terry McDermott, you need to trim. Get out there. Get that Manscaped. Manscaped.com. Code NWAPod. 20% off and free shipping.
This is the part of the show where Gary exercises Vince McMahon control over what we can say. I feel stifled right now because really what I want to tell you, but I'm not going to. But what I really want to tell you is Manscaped is really small, so it works good for guys with tiny cojones.
All right, next story.
But if you've got
Rob, you're not supposed to drink this much until the after show, Rob.
I'm on my first drink.
No, we already heard your voice just go into like a different octave, so I think we all know better.
Sorry, our drinking game tonight. I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. We play a little drinking game every week. It's a different theme. Tonight's was every time Gary mispronounces a word in a news article, we had to drink. So we're all like smashed.
I'm trash, man.
I love having all three of us here because none of us ever gets the edge on anybody else. It's like if one person's like beating up on somebody else, the third is going to come in and take that person down. So it's anyway. You know what? You guys can talk all the trash you want to, but it proves that we're taking a step up. Not only that we were on the official NWA channel today, but also that I just made that transition right seamlessly into the Manscaped ad. So it is out of the way. Wrestling with the MMA didn't even have to tell me to do it this time. So, and
I'll tell you, just for those who think that I hate Manscaped, I want you to know I'm pitching an idea to Manscaped, and I'm calling it. What are we on now? The 3.0. I'm calling it the 4.0. What's one better? Think about it.
It's good math right there.
All right. Not sure I follow on everything, but hey, TV.
Simple arithmetic, Gary.
A lot of cool rankings came out this week. One of the big ones we're going to get to last on the news portion of this show because Rob demands it, that he wants it on the regular show that we talk about. But before we get there, TV Guide came out with the 100 best shows on TV. 100 best shows on all of television. It's incredible. Guess what came in at number 57? Rob, any ideas?
I'm going to say Gilligan's Island.
MASH. Airwolf.
Oh, Will.
Nitro.
All right.
The Oprah Winfrey Show.
No, AEW Dynamite on TNT came in at number 57 on the 100 best shows on television right now. They point out that you can watch it on the TNT app and Hulu. Their exact paragraph here says, AEW Dynamite's arrival was an electric jolt to mainstream wrestling, which had gotten creatively stagnant over the last few years. Each 2-hour-long episode serves up an action-packed spectacle with gripping matches, a dynamic roster full of eclectic characters we haven't previously seen at this professional level, and creative storytelling that keeps fans on their toes. From Cody Rhodes' career-defining promos to Nyla Rose's groundbreaking championship win to Chris Jericho's viral champagne joke, Dynamite not only lives up to the name, but also represents the best of what today's wrestling has to offer. Pretty impressive little write-up there.
I didn't realize Tony Khan was such a good writer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, it's most noticeable by the fact that what is not on that top 100 list is there is nary a WWE show on that top 100 list. It's just AEW Dynamite. That's the only one that made the list. So, the only reason NWA is not in the top 10 is they're clearly because they're on YouTube. But
I think the most the most crazy thing about that is not that AEW is on the list and WWE isn't. It's that there's 100 shows that still come on TV, and WWE's not even in the top 100.
Well, stand by, Will. I'm going to read every show.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm going to read all 100 TV shows.
Don't do that, because that does sound like something that you would try to do, and then you'd get halfway through the list and we would just end it.
My favorite part of that, though, is I wonder how deeply invested this person is in AEW Dynamite. I mean, I assume somebody is, and I don't know how they came to this. I should have investigated that more. Like, did they? Let's see. It doesn't appear. Hold on. Every member of the TV Guide staff fought for their favorite shows to make the cut, taking into account quality, cultural impact, and overall entertainment value. The resulting ranking is a list that speaks to the unusual time we're living in. So it does look like that it is strictly based off the TV Guide staff. So somebody there is watching AEW. I only bring that up because it's interesting too that Andrew McKinney brought this up in the chat, credit where it's due. They had the line, a dynamic roster of eclectic characters we haven't previously seen at the professional level. And then immediately after, the next sentence is like, from Cody Rhodes' career-defining promo. And it has a Chris Jericho's viral champagne joke. It's like, all right, well,
literally guys we've seen for decades at the professional level.
But anyway, obviously not everybody's going to agree with that, but Rob wrote me and said we should definitely mention that because it is his favorite show on television. Yep.
Is Lost still on, or is that ended, right?
Lost ended, bro. Sorry.
So I don't even know. I don't even know 5 shows that aren't wrestling that are on TV. I really don't.
I know What We Do in Shadows. You guys watch that? That show's funny.
Never heard of it.
Okay. It's funny.
Me, I just watch Jimmy Swaggart on Sundays and Fox News during the week.
I believe him.
No, I don't think he's lying. That's the problem. Yeah. All right, we're winding down the news portions here. So if there's anything major we got to get to, we've already got some ideas for the after show. Make sure you tune into that. If you're listening on the podcast, you're not going to hear that part of it because you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel. You got to hit the bell to get an alert. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching this show right now, and you're not chatting in the chat. That's fine. You don't have to chat. You can just watch us on your television. We love you guys. Thank you for watching at all. But you can chat if you'd like. And make sure you hit subscribe. That's all we're saying. And if you're listening on the podcast, come hit subscribe anyway, for God's sake. If you hit the bell, you'll know when we go live next time. I've had questions about that. When do you go live? Every Sunday, every Tuesday. Right now, that's our schedule. Always about 8 p.m., 8-ish. And we go live. And we're here. And you can hang out and chat with a whole community of awesome wrestling fans like these people in our chat right now. Anyway, that plug's out of the way. Let's move on. Tyson Fury. On the Evening Express, this is a UK paper, Fury, you know Tyson Fury, he won the WBC heavyweight title in February. He wrestled at Crown Jewel. You remember that show, Rob.
Rob's WrestleMania.
The boxer has recently started to call for a fight against Drew McIntyre, the first Brit to hold the WWE Championship. After he had that victory over Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania back in March. He just recently posted on Instagram, I've been sitting on a train on the way home after a long, busy weekend, and I'm thinking about people I want to punch in the face. The first one that springs to mind is a big fella called Drew McIntyre. Now, Drew, you have been having quite a bit to say about me lately, and I'd love to punch your face in, honestly. So this is an official challenge video to Drew McIntyre, the WWE heavyweight champion of the world. This dates back to, I guess right after Drew won the title, he did say something about Tyson Fury, like, oh, I'd take him on or whoever on or something like that. So on Tuesday evening, which is this evening, Fury repeated his challenge to McIntyre, saying, let's fight. Let's get it on. And let's do it before the Wilder fight, after the Wilder fight, before the AJ fight. The WWE's Executive Vice President of Global Talent Strategy and Development, Paul Levesque, better known by, that guy, better known by his ring name, Triple H, reportedly has told Fury he's ready to take a phone call, and he's willing to discuss what he believes would be one of the biggest professional wrestling matches of all time. He quoted to the Evening Express here, "We could make Drew McIntyre versus Tyson Fury work out. Tyson's got my number. We'll make the call." That's here. I think they also have more from Triple H here. He says Tyson Fury is one of those fighters that sometimes now finds himself in a position where does Anthony Joshua want to fight him? Does Deontay Wilder want to rematch? Because he's proven to maybe be the next level from anybody. If you're able to make a super fight, a mega fight, like a WWE champion, Drew McIntyre, like a world champion in Tyson Fury in boxing, I think we sell out massive stadiums, do record global box office business. And that's what this is all about. So my phone is on. So there you go. So he says when someone like Tyson Fury comes in, he brings a sports aspect to this. He brings a boxing world championship and popularity and something totally different that helps eyeballs across the board. We gave him a platform to be the entertainer that he was born to be. Sometimes he has that in boxing, but the platform at that level for the entertainment pieces isn't as big. It's a win-win for both of us. Tyson is one of the most professional people I ever worked with. I spent a lot of time with him a few years ago, and I'd love to have him back. All right, that's it from Triple H. And so there it is. That's a weird turn of events here recently. I mean, I don't know if you call it like something just completely out of the blue, but I've been curious about what they're doing right now, building up to this Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton fight, since that's what's going to be happening again at the next pay-per-view. And I'm like, surely Randy Orton is not going to lose every pay-per-view for the past like few months. And so I've been thinking like Randy Orton's going to win that title. He's got to, right? But now that you got like Tyson Fury like talking some trash and Triple H seeming eager to possibly work that out, what are you guys thinking about any of this? Will, you're shaking your head. You don't like it.
Well, I have opinions. This is not at all a knock on Tyson Fury as a champion or Drew McIntyre or any of that, or even crossover, between different combat sports. But this is my rub when I hear something like that. And then when I hear Triple H's comments, and I'm going to say prize fight a lot in this, but if you want a prize fight feel, just create it within your own company. It's possible. Look at the NWA, look at Nick Aldis, look at all, everything. Other promotions know how to bring that same prize fight feel. The WWE acts like the only way that they can get that feel is to bring in a boxer or a former MMA star or a Brock Lesnar who has ties to the MMA or something like that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to rely on that to sell out stadiums and sell pay-per-views. You can create that. You have creative control. You're writing the storylines. You can actually create and book people that can do that. Give them a little bit of freedom to go out and cut a real promo. And with some authenticity, you can create that. So when I hear this kind of stuff, again, it's not a knock on Tyson Fury or Drew McIntyre. Massive amounts of respect for both of those men and what they do in their respective industries. But when you talk about this and you say, oh, this is a big deal just because now we can book this like a prize fight and we can have an actual challenge of a guy that just says, hey, I just want to punch you in the mouth. You can do that on your show now. What's stopping you? And so that's what I roll my eyes out.
Rob, I remember a conversation one time that what everything was Will was just talking about reminded me of, like, I was in college and watching wrestling, WWE obviously, and we were watching it, and no, actually what it was is we were watching the Super Bowl. God help me, I wish I could remember exactly which one it was, but I remember at the end of the game we were like, that kind of sucked, and I was like, this is why I love wrestling, because you never have to have a shitty Super Bowl, like you could build this thing up and WrestleMania comes along and you can have, like, because people make fun of it, like it's predetermined or whatever. But I'm like, you can always make every awesome encounter mean something and matter and be big. And now me today, looking back at that me then, I think that me then sounds like an idiot, but but anyway, I think you get where I'm coming from. What are your thoughts here on this stuff?
We are preoccupied with, and I don't want to say prize fighting again because I felt like we've said it a million times, but we're preoccupied on our channel with preserving the dignity and the integrity of the championship. But there is more than that. You know what I mean? I mean, wrestling it's not like these crossover sports interactions are new to wrestling. They are steeped in it. I mean, there are times when Muhammad Ali stepped into the ring with Antonio Inoki in Japan to do a wrestling versus boxing crossover. You have, of course, Rocky, where, Clubber Lang, the boxer, steps into the ring, or where Hulk Hogan steps into the ring with Rocky Balboa to do a promotional thing there in pop culture. You've had Mike Tyson involved. You've had Mr. T involved. You've had – it's not a new thing. I mean, you've had guys from other sports, from Dennis Rodman to the refrigerator Perry to that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as the integrity of the title here. The thing that concerns me about this, and it's not a big concern because I don't know enough about it yet, and we'll see where it goes. But I wouldn't want this to be a wrestling championship match. But if we're talking about a grudge match or a promotion, an interdiscipline match or something like that, on the surface of it, if it's to get ratings or something like that or provide a little layer of entertainment, I don't hate it. Instinctively, I can see where somebody like Will would be suspicious, but I don't know if that makes sense. It's not like this is. It is a staple of the history of professional wrestling as not only prize fighting but also entertainment sports, traveling, Carneyland sports, to provide these sort of entertainment spectacles. That's part of the environment and context of pro wrestling. You have intergender matches. You have I hate, and I don't like to use the term midget, but midgets do this when they go and wrestle in midget matches or whatever they call them now. There are curiosity matches that are appropriate as long as the integrity of the prize fight isn't compromised. So could they do this in a way that's okay? Yeah, they could. Do I have faith and confidence based on the history that they will? Not 100%, but I like to see where it goes. I'm not instinctively sold against it just because it's Tyson Fury and Drew McIntyre. Again, this won't be the first time in the history of wrestling that it's happened. It won't be the first time in the history of a promotion outside of the WWF that it's happened. Again, referring back to Antonio Inoki and Muhammad Ali, it's that we've been doing this since the foundations of the world in pro wrestling. But you just got to do it right. And you got to, above all, my concern, I think our concern, and I'm not trying to speak for y'all, but I think I do. I think above all, we're concerned with protecting the integrity of the championships and making sure that wrestling as a performance sport, as a credible sport along the lines of any other sport is protected. And if you can do that and still protect wrestling and its integrity, I'm fine with it.
I am 100% with you. I'm not opposed to like bringing in celebrity interaction and that sort of thing. And especially if it's a pro fighter like Tyson Fury, I think there is something there. I mean, think about Mayweather versus McGregor. I mean, that was a huge fight, and that's a crossover battle. So I would never argue that it doesn't work or can't work. So there's a lot of history behind that sort of thing. And so like Rob points out, it definitely could work. I'm also with Will, though, that ideally you've always got challengers built up in your own promotion that are ready and willing and able and seem credible as challengers for the world's heavyweight championship.
And just so you're clear, I am with Will too for Will's reasons. You know what I'm saying? What Will expressed, I agree with 1,000,000%. I just think that, this is something that is a time-honored tradition in pro wrestling where the integrity of the championships aren't compromised. And if you can do that, make a spectacle, entertain, and, bring in some cross sports appeal and interest, there's no damage done there as long as there's not damage done there, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And to elaborate on my point, I'm in agreement with you guys too. This is not a disagreement by any stretch. I love that time-honored tradition of having the crossover, especially between different combat sports. But my thing is, we're talking about a promotion who literally the basis for their number one feud will be, oh, this guy walked out on the ramp holding a chair. Now I hate him. And they just glare at each other for 20 seconds. Oh God, there's a feud. I don't buy into that. Why? How am I supposed? I don't believe they hate each other. You know what I mean? So if you're so sold on this idea of a guy sending a video saying, "I just want to punch this guy in the mouth," like I'm coming for you. Do that more with your roster. Do that more every week. Like that's my point. My point is like Triple H's response, like, "Oh yeah, we love this kind of stuff." If you love it so much, why don't you never do it unless there's a boxer or an MMA fighter around? That's my point.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, Front Row in the chat mentions too that after Pat McAfee's for performance at TakeOver, the bar's super high for outsiders now to have matches. He feels, and he says that story was technically told over 3 years. So That's interesting too. So guys, here's what I want to do. I was gonna go off on the Raw ratings. Here's all you need to know: they're down, but they're still better than pre-Thunderdome time. So that's the Raw ratings. I have one other news item, and then we're going to get into the PWI 500. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Rob, especially, he wanted to make sure we covered it. So podcast, thank Dr. Rob. He wanted to make sure you guys got in on this, talking about the latest PWI 500. So we're going to include you guys in all of that, and then we'll go into the after show. Before we get there, I have one news item and then two technically ads that are news items that you need to know about. Here we go. The one thing I did want to mention, because I feel like we owe them this, because we talk about everything else in the world on this show sometimes, but the lineup was just announced for NJPW's Fighting Spirit Unleashed Night 1, New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that's on Friday. Fighting Spirit Unleashed starts on the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong event. Now, these guys, I feel like they're important to talk about a little bit too, because they are also supposedly, I'm hearing, going to be a part of UWN's Prime Time Live. This is a roster that's also going to be interacting and intermingling in that situation. So these names, while you may not know them yet, I feel like you're going to feel that way a lot about the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, from Arizona, from Houston, from all those guys. Like these are guys you're going to start to see some interaction between them and the stars of the NWA. I love this. I'm pumped because it's going to open up the doors to a plethora of new wrestling talent that I was not aware of before now. So I think it's kind of exciting. It's going to be neat to see what the world has to offer out there that's not on the mainstream wrestling circuit right now. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
I just heard you use the word plethora. I just want to know if you thought maybe if I had a plethora of pinatas.
So in the main event of Fighting Spirit Unleashed on the NJPW Strong event, Bullet Club Switchblade Jay White will face Flip Gordon. Already there, you're seeing some crossover right there. That's Ring of Honor. White and Chase Owens lost in a tag match to Gordon and Brody King on the August 21st episode of New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong to set up this match. The semi-main event will feature front row's going to kill me. Hiquelo of Bullet Club taking on Brody King. This match marks Hiquelo's return bout after an excursion to Rev Pro in the United Kingdom. On the undercard, Carl, that's what this guy should go as. On the undercard, Carl Fredericks will take on Mysterioso, who with Barrett Brown, Blake Christian, and Adrian Quest defeated Fredericks, Clark Connors, ACH, and TJP on last week's New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. Barrett Brown, he's a former junior heavyweight champ or something like that, right? Yeah. In his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut, Fred Rosser, formerly known as Darren Young in the WWE, will be teaming with Alex Zane in the opener. They will face the team of Clark Connors and the DKC. New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong airs Fridays at 10 p.m. That's Eastern on New Japan World. So make sure you check that out. All right. I'm sorry. Andrew McKinney's laughing me out of the room, I think, on this. All right. So here's the thing. We got all this way. We're going to talk about the PWI 500, but guys, come on. Are you set to watch Mission Pro Wrestling on Friday, September the 18th? Hell Hath No Fury. All women run, top to bottom. This is all ladies. It's ladies' night. And I feel all right. This is ladies' night. Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night. Anyway, you got to check this thing out. It's still open for tickets, I believe. Rob can probably vouch for that. His ticket's given up now because he's going to have to watch it from his hotel room, according to what we've been told by the Thunder Rosa family. But
I've been banned from the arena, guys, and I'm, my wife is going to be there front row, but evidently I've been banned from the arena. I don't know why.
It makes sense. So I'm just going to mention these: Vert Vixen and Jenna Lynn versus Promise Braxton and Killa Kate. Roxy versus Genevieve Muscles. Alex Gracia versus Avery Taylor. Maddie Rinkowski versus Red Velvet. La Rosa Negra versus All Elite Wrestling's Big Swole. Elena Black versus Rachel Rose. And of course, the big time, the ultimate prize fight that you could look forward to in 2020. This is one of them. I mean, out of all the matches you could make, Thunder Rosa is defending the NWA Women's World Championship against the American Kaiju, Lindsay Snow. You have to check this out. It is Friday, September the 18th. You can watch this. If you can't be there live in Buda, Texas, you can watch this on the Title Match Network. You got to jump on this, man. Title Match Network. It's as much as like the WWE Network. Just get it and watch this thing. We're all going to be watching it. We're going to be promoting the hell out of it. We already are right now. We are excited about this. So I can't say it enough. Let's all watch Hell Hath No Fury together. Let's make this program successful for these people. I just want this to blow up. That's what I want. I want this to be a huge event and super successful so that these ladies know that they did something big in the wrestling industry on this night. And Rob's going to be lucky enough to say he was there for it.
Yeah, and again, even before this match was booked and we knew about it, we have been talking about the potential of seeing someone like Lindsay Snow get a shot at the title. And these are two of my favorite wrestlers in the world, not women wrestlers. They're two of my favorite wrestlers. And I've had a chance to see Lindsay Snow in person a couple of times. And obviously we've seen Thunder Rosa and know a lot about her career and work. And this is it, man. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to this. I have a feeling, I feel like about this match like I felt about Marty Scurll and Nick Aldis at Crockett Cup. You know what I'm saying? Getting to see that, the potential of getting to see that. I have that same sense of like something important's about to happen. So I'm going to be there covering it, live tweeting. My boys or my brother's going to be there communicating what was going on, and we're going to make sure we bring it to you as best we can. But you can get it, man. You know, if you can't afford it, cancel that WWE Network for a month and get this, and don't miss it.
Wrestling with the MMA, I am not sure about the Roku thing. It's driving me nuts too. I just want there to be an app. I don't think there is one, but you can stream from your device to a Roku. There's a way to what's the word? I guess it's just stream. I don't know. I feel like there's an AirPlay or something. That's the Apple term for it. You can do that from like your phone or your tablet or your computer or whatever to the Roku device. We can talk about it. I'm trying to get all the details on that as well, because I would rather just throw it up on my big screen on the Roku and do it that way. But either way, I'm going to be watching this. I am super excited for this. Guys, you want to throw around your weight in the wrestling industry? Like, let's show these people that we appreciate good quality independent wrestling here. Not just women's wrestling, like Rob said, but good quality independent wrestling. Let's give Hell Hath No Fury all our energy and excitement, and let's make this a successful event for these ladies. And anyway, excited.
Right, it's a call to action, Gary. It is. I mean, where there's good wrestling, we talk week after week. You guys come in here. You voice your opinions. We don't always agree, but we all agree on this. We support good wrestling. And if we really do support that, and we're not making any money off this, we're not getting any endorsements from them or anything like that. If we really believe in our mission here, this is the NWA Pod, supporting great prize fight wrestling, then we need to put our money where our mouth is and support Mission Pro, support United Wrestling Network, support New Japan, when appropriate, support the NWA. We have to do. I feel obligated to do that. So this is a call to action, guys. We need to get in on this.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Speaking of another thing Dr. Rob just brought up right now is UWN Prime Time Live. Guys, this thing starts on September the 15th. That's a Tuesday night. So that Friday, you got Hell Hath No Fury, but right before that on Tuesday, you got UWN Prime Time Live. Now, we're still waiting on pricing information before you guys start dropping that in the thing. We're going to get that here. I think I'd be willing to bet we're getting it this week, but who knows? I don't know. But I'm excited for it because you already know that, I mean, who are we if we're not already invested in Nick Aldis versus Mike Bennett for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship? The 10 pounds of gold, my friends, is on the line once again, and you can watch it live. This is huge, man. Mike Bennett is no joke. We've been teasing you with it. I mean, is Mike Bennett going to speak, come back? I mean, we've been lucky enough to go on the official NWA channel and get Aldis's official response. I mean, I feel like that brings us into a position that Mike Bennett would want to talk to us, and it looks like he's gonna. So now, unfortunately, not live, not tonight, but it looks like we'll be having a special meeting tomorrow night with Mike Bennett to discuss his thoughts on this. I think we're going to keep it into a private chat, and we're going to post that up in a premiere for you guys to watch so we can all see it together. But we are going to be speaking with Mike Bennett to discuss what he thinks about Aldis's appearance on our show and what's happening with the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Guys, this is Will. We just talked to Nick Aldis, and he had a lot of good things to say. But I mean, Mike Bennett, just from the one promo we've seen where he specifically, right in front of his kid's crib, Nick Aldis posted this on his Twitter. Mike Bennett's fighting for more than just a championship here. He's fighting for his legacy. He's fighting for his family. As he puts it, he's fighting for his life.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, the night that we talked to the champ, and just to reiterate, I mean, this is a guy who he's kind of been through the ringer the past 2 or 3 years in terms of his spot in the industry. I mean, he went to a promotion that even went so far as to take his own name away from him and repackage him as this gimmicked character. And he's come out of that with this renewed vigor to reestablish his name, and J. Cal talked about this and said it very well earlier today on the Alliance blog pre-party. But, he's got motivation to reestablish himself in professional wrestling because he feels the weight of the ringer that he's been through at WWE the past few years. He feels the weight of now he's got kids, he's got a family. He's looking out for his legacy. He's looking out to establish himself as the competitor and the athlete that he believes himself to be. And that's a scary thing. And, not to keep mentioning, Gary, what you did on the interview the other night, but he's hungry, man. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his promo. You can feel it when he speaks. You can put yourself in his shoes and think back about being in a position where, you were stripped of your competitiveness by your boss for 3 years, unable to compete at a level that that you're able to compete. And the dude's in great shape. You can see in that video, he might have not been utilized much on TV or in storylines, but he was keeping himself ring ready, and he looks ring ready. I'm anxious to talk to him. I have a lot of questions. I want to hear some more detail about where his mind is at, what he's thinking of the champ, if he's been following him the past few years, and what his thoughts are, what's going to be his strategy going into the match. Looking forward to talking to him. Looking forward to sharing that with the hashtag NWA fam. It's going to be huge.
Dr. Rob, I mean, we look at this video from Mike Bennett, and I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Will brings up a lot of good points, but one of them being that Mike Bennett is a guy who's been stripped of a lot of things. I mean, people can forget because, I mean, if they just, first of all, if you only knew him from WWE, you didn't know any of his independent stuff prior to that, he and his wife and the legacy, the career that they had established beyond that. But there was, if you can recall, there was excitement when he was signed to WWE. There was a lot of buzz about that because Mike Bennett was hot coming off that independent scene with Impact or whoever. Like, I mean, he was doing stuff. He was winning championships. He was world traveled. He was a great wrestler. And he and Maria Kanellis were running roughshod over the scene. And when they got signed to WWE, there was a lot of talk about what they were going to be able to do. We all know what that can amount to in WWE sometimes. And unfortunately, that's the situation here. Now, here's the thing. This is a guy that leaves the WWE and he can do whatever he wants to. He could go crawling back to Impact. He could go see what's up at Ring of Honor. He could, see if there's any love in AEW. He could do whatever he wants to. And he has decided that he needs to reclaim his legacy. He needs to make a name for himself again. He needs to take the fastest route possible to making that Mike Bennett name as hot as it was on his way into the WWE. And the way that he's decided that is the best to do that is through defeating Nick Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. And I'm sitting here, Rob, and I'm looking at you because you know the history like no other. That basically Nick Aldis can take this challenge however he wants to. And he does, granted, he doesn't look like he's just passing it off like it's nothing. But it's a dangerous game to be played with a man that's backed into a corner like that has nothing left to lose. People want to discount this challenge, but Mike Bennett is no pushover. Mike Bennett is not just any challenger, and Mike Bennett is a man who's perfectly capable of winning the World's Heavyweight Championship on any given night. Nick Aldis has got to be on top of his game, right? Because if he even doubts this for a second, Mike Bennett could snatch something from him.
Well, there's nothing more disappointing in the career of a professional in any field to get to that precipice, to get to the top of the mountain, only be knocked back down. There's nothing more disorienting, disillusioning, or disappointing than that. And that's where Mike Bennett finds himself, because now he's issued a challenge. He's at the precipice, and it's either he reaches the top or he faces a major career disappointment, To answer your question, is Mike Bennett capable? Of course he's capable. Nick Aldis would not grant him a shot if he weren't capable. His name's on the marquee, man. This is a guy that is not an independent wrestler. He's toiled in the indies like everybody has, but this is a guy who's won major championships in New Japan, in Ring of Honor, in Impact. He is a legit challenger. He's in great physical shape. He is probably in the best shape of his life. He's certainly mentally honed in on Nick Aldis. But, and I'm not dismissing anybody. I'm not going to lie here. I'm not a journalist like you and Will are. I'm just a mark, man. I'm just a fan. I like good wrestling. You know what I'm saying? I got my favorites. I just call it like I see it. I don't have my doctorate is not in wrestling. My doctorate is in a very precise niche market in the field of curriculum and leadership, not pro wrestling. So your guys' knowledge far exceeds mine in some ways. I'm older than you, but
my doctorate's from the School of Hard Knocks.
There you go. Mine is, that's neither here nor there. Can Mike Bennett win this? Yes, he can win it, because I don't think that Nick Aldis is the kind of champion that's going to take a challenger that's a gimme. He doesn't do that. That's not what prize fighters do. That's not what real champions do. Anybody on any given day can win the championship, and Mike Bennett on his best day can very well win this championship. Am I 100% certain? 100% certain that Nick Aldis will walk out with a belt on the 15th? No, I'm not. But I'm 95% certain that he will. And here's why: because every advantage that Bennett brings to this, Nick Aldis has it tenfold. Every advantage that Bennett has, Aldis has and has mastered it. Aldis is a family man. Aldis has been there before. He's been discredited. He's been the man that's overlooked, that's been passed over, that's been underestimated. Aldis is the man that single-handedly elevated the NWA's men's division to world's championship consideration. He's the one that did it. Only Aldis. Okay? I mean, not only Aldis. I mean, also by winning matches against Cody and Tim Storm and James Storm and Flip Gordon, and Marty Scurll, and winning these matches after matches after matches. On that labor, he's restored the credibility of the NWA as a global force, as the one championship that is the most important championship. He's done that. And every advantage that Bennett brings, Aldis brings, but more so. So do I think that Bennett can do it? Yes. Do I think that he will do it? No, I don't. And this is not a discredit on Bennett. It's just that he happens to be living and moving and breathing in a time when the greatest fighting champion in the history of the world is alive and defending. So it's an incident of time. It's an incident of the particular situation where Bennett is moving between territories and promotions, that he's going to meet this misfortune of wrestling Nick Aldis in this situation. It's going to be an epic match, and hopefully it might be a series of matches. And maybe one day Bennett might raise that belt, but it's not going to be on the 15th. My money is on Aldis.
Well, I'm excited to see it, guys. I honestly can't think of another match I'm more excited to see. There's a lot of good wrestling coming up in September. Let's just say that. And it involves our NWA competitors, our NWA champions, Nick Aldis and Thunder Rosa. Not to move on too quickly, but can somebody tell Thunder Rosa to calm the hell down? Guys, if you haven't been following along on the Twitter, Thunder Rosa is going to be at AEW All Out this Saturday, taking on Hikaru Shida. Win, lose, or draw. The next Saturday on September 12th, she's taking on Kimber Lee at the Warrior Wrestling Stadium Series. You can check out warriorwrestling.net. That was just announced. You can get tickets to those. There's a VIP fan fest and everything. Thunder Rosa not wasting time. That's the Saturday, by the way, before the Tuesday, where she'll be appearing, confirmed, at UWN Prime Time Live. That's at the same event that Nick Aldis is defending the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship against Mike Bennett. And also confirmed at that event, Alex Hammerstone defends the West Coast Pro Championship against the real EJ Sparks. That match is signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm just excited to see Alex Hammerstone and Nick Aldis on the same card, and Thunder Rosa. My God, that event is already, it's lit already. The event's ready to go. But there's more to come, I'm sure. We haven't heard the last from David Marquez and UWN and the NWA. There's more announcements to be made there. I'm feeling it. But aside from that, then Thunder Rosa is going to march on over on Friday night, and she's going to be defending, assuming she'll still have it. She'll still have it. The NWA Women's Championship against the American Kaiju, Lindsay Snow, at Hell Hath No Fury from Mission Pro Wrestling. Guys, Thunder Rosa is not, like, she ain't taking days off anymore. Now that she don't have to, she's not. She is busting that ass to get out there and fight. So God bless her. God bless her for representing a fighting champion. That's good stuff. All right. So we have covered all of the things. Dr. Stinson, we are still here, still on the podcast portion. And I thought I was doing good. I thought I was like blowing through the news, like with rapid fire pace. And we're still here. The PWI 500 list came out this past week. And a lot to talk about there. Stinson, since you really wanted to make sure we talked about it on the podcast portion of the show, I guess that you have something on your mind that you want to get off your chest here. So go ahead and let us know, like, where do you want to start with the PWI 500 this year?
I mean, I don't have anything particular on my mind. I just thought that the news hit, and since you journalist types like to cover the news, I was like, hey man, why are we going to hold off on this? It's pretty big news. A lot of people have put different levels of weight and authority on this list, but it's out. At least the top 25 is out, and we know where our guys rank from 1 to 500. And so I thought it might be worthy to comment on.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you're exactly wanted to comment on, because here's the thing: we are friends with the PWI guys. I mean, with especially Brian Solomon, and he is a not even just a contributor now. Like, he's moved into position. He's on, I think, officially on the staff now of PWI 500. I'm looking at this thing, and they say here that the evaluation period for this year's PWI 500 is July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. All right. The criteria for ranking are as follows: win-loss record, technical ability, influence on the sport, success against the highest grade of competition, success against the most diverse competition and activity. And also, special note, women have been ranked in the top 500 for the very first time. So I guess, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just throw it out there. One of the things that I really want to establish is that I'm very disappointed that we just spent like a whole half hour or so covering a lot of what our NWA Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa has been doing, and women were included, and Thunder Rosa ain't nowhere on that list. So first of all, love you guys, but bullshit.
Right. Yeah. There are some positive things on this list, but I think there are some major drop balls on this list. And one of them is that I can't imagine there are women on this list that couldn't hold a candle to Thunder Rosa. And the fact that she did not appear on that a month after being featured in the magazine. I mean, how many times they do 6 magazines a year, Will? They do 6 magazines a year, Gary. How many times in this last year have they done a feature story on a female wrestler? How many times? Can you guess?
How many times?
I think once. And guess who it was on?
Who's that?
La Mera.
Yeah, that's
And she didn't make the top 500? Are you kidding me? So that really burns me. It really, really burns me. However, I know Brian Solomon, and I think his appropriate title is the Chancellor, the Grand High Chancellor of the Top 500. That's his official title.
Right, that's him. I'm sure he would love to take on that responsibility.
Right. At the same time, I think that when you're looking at the top 500, there are a lot of factors that go into play. And remember, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of wrestlers here. So who would I like to see at number one? I mean, I would have put either a Chris Jericho or a Hikaru Shida or a Nick Aldis at number one. I would have put them at number one, you know. However, I'm not so miffed that Nick Aldis is at number 15, because I think that in a sport that's so big, the margin of difference between 1 and 50 is negligible. You know, we're talking about just the slightest, most minuscule amount of difference, and you could argue it either way. That's why in one year you'll see a guy ranked in number 45, and the next year you see him ranked like number 3 or number 1 even, or not even ranked. I think that Nick Aldis being ranked in the top 15 is a huge compliment to him and to the NWA, given the fact that he went for 219 days without being able to defend the belt, and win-loss record was a big factor in the determination of this ranking. That's the positive. The bad thing is that Thunder Rosa being snubbed is to me, it's unforgivable. It really, really damages the credibility of this list.
I can't disagree. For those who wondered in the chat or listening right now, yes, Nick Aldis did make the list, number 15. But you know, I've bitched about it. He hasn't wrestled in 4 months, so until this past weekend. But it's also the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, so GFY. I mean, Roman Reigns is on the list at number 14, right above Nick Aldis. Roman Reigns hasn't wrestled since when?
Exactly.
So I don't know.
Hopefully, this will lead into a discussion that we'll have in the live chat in the after party. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, they but again, you know, when you get to that top 50, especially the top 25. You know, when you're looking, if you make the top 50, you're elite, and for them to acknowledge Aldis as elite, that's a compliment. My argument is that Thunder Rosa is elite. You know, she deserves to be in that discussion as much as any other woman in the world, including Sheeta, including Nyla Rose, including Rhea Ripley, including Charlotte Flair, any of them. She has earned that distinction.
As far as NWA brethren, Zicky Dice came in at 278. If you want to count him, I mean, Ricky Starks came in at 92, so he was well up there. I mean, as far as guys that moved on, Eddie Kingston, is he on this list? Yeah, 217, Eddie Kingston. No Aaron Stevens. What about James Storm?
That's ridiculous.
No Storms on there. No James Storm. No Tim Storm.
Yeah.
What about a Drake? Eli Drake. Eli Drake, 120. He was on there. How you not gonna put James Storm and Tim Storm on there? I mean, at least James Storm, who's the current tag team champion, alongside Eli Drake, who's number 120, who just finished being the national champion, who was just competing for the World's Heavyweight Championship.
James Storm's 64.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, James Storm's number 64, so that's valid. I don't know. Why is Storm not coming up for me? I don't know why.
James Storm, incidentally, is also from Scotland.
He is. He's there. He's there. James Storm is number 64. Okay, so I should have about that one.
We did get, not to make you mad, Rob, but Ashley Vox is 471, so she made the list. Sal Ranallo is on the list.
I mean, search Cobra Moon, man. Search Mel Cervantes. Surely that can't be right. I mean, no shade on Ashley Vox. She deserves to be on the list. But what?
I don't get it. I don't get how the hell that's possible.
Do these people work at the same company, or are they just like?
No, Allison Kay. Like, I mean, what's happening? What are these guys doing? Oh, well.
Trevor Murdoch's 389.
Okay, well, at least good old Trevor made it. But they got, okay, so props to PWI for starting to incorporate the women. Y'all got to figure out what's going on with your ranking system with the women. Like, there's a whole world of weirdness going on there, and I cannot understand what you're doing.
If you're going to do it, then you open yourself up to this kind of criticism. If you're going to put out professional...
we love you. We're telling you we love you, but something's wrong. Yes.
If you're going to put this list out, you better have a rationale behind it that's discernible, because, there are just some gaping mysteries in this list that I cannot justify, so it's.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to hang around with the live chat after this whole thing, but we're going to wrap it up for the podcast portion of the show. If you want to be here for the live chat and hanging out with these people, you got to join us on Sunday nights or Tuesday nights. You got to hit subscribe over at youtube.com/the NWA Pod. You can find that on all of our social media, the NWA Pod. Super simple. You can do it. Before we get out of here, Rob, tell us. So everybody in the chat, stay where you are. We're going to hang out with you and talk about whatever you guys want to from this point on, but we're going to close it out for the podcast portion. I feel like I said that, but I feel like I need to really establish that. So, Rob, tell everybody where they can find you on all the social medias.
On all the social medias, you can find me on the Twitters at rstinson4, on Instagram at rdstinson4. You can find me on Facebook at Dr. Robert D. Stinson. And best of all, you can find me here every Sunday and every Tuesday. That date will change soon. We're looking at a night change when Prime Time starts. But currently, you can find me here every Sunday and Tuesday. And you can also see me and my lovely daughter, Piper, every Friday on Piper's Notes here on This is the NWA Podcast.
Will, where are you, son?
Hey, it's Will with 1L, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Real Hey, it's Will on TikTok, right here. And every Friday, I do a little collab with J Cal over at the Alliance blog. We call it the Friday Hot Tag. We pick a hot topic, take about 20 minutes, give our take on it. It's really fun. Join us on Instagram Live every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And it's always a good time. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about this week. So it should be fun. You guys make plans to join us.
And I am at This Is Gary Horn. You can find me on all the social medias under there. Again, the podcast, the show, everything. It's under at the NWA Pod on Instagram, Twitter, at NWA Pod on TikTok. You can all of this stuff. You can find us. We're around, and I've been fed a tease that there's a clue as to why Thunder Rosa is not on the list this year.
I know why, and I'm going to tell the live chat. So if you want to know why, I did some investigating. You'll have to go to YouTube, watch the video.
We got scoops.
We got scoops, but you got to be here live for that portion of the show. And also, make sure I'm telling you, podcast, you got to go to youtube.com/the NWA Pod. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell to get notified when we go live or when there's premieres, because we're having a secret, not so secret to all of us, meeting with Mike Bennett tomorrow to discuss his thoughts on Nick Aldis and what his plans are for the National Treasure and the Real World's Heavyweight Championship. But you gotta subscribe to get that kind of information. All right, but hang around live chat. We're going to be talking to you and podcasts. We love you. Thank you for listening. Share it with your friends. But until next time, enjoy your gravy cake. All right. We're here with the live chat. It's just us now, babies. I think we're alone now. There's only Stinson, Will, and Gary hanging around.
Is it regular Gary or regular Gary?
I don't know. No, we're working on it. We're about to start cranking up now, baby. You.
What's up, Preacher Gary?
Yeah, there he is.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. I'm so happy you are all here this evening. It is so good to see all of you. I don't know if that's like Preacher Gary or like Youth Pastor Gary. Well, you know, everybody, one of the great things about Jesus is that he understood everyone, even those that thought Thunder Rosa shouldn't be on the top 500. Now, you might be asking yourself, what does the Bible say about why Thunder Rosa might not be on the top 500? William, why don't you tell us?
Well, I've got my Bible right here. So let me open it up. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like Youth Pastor Gary would be more radical. Would have like spiked hair.
Yeah.
And
100%. I'd have a wallet chain and I'd have my flannel shirts on with the sleeves rolled up just a little bit, which is actually my normal attire.
Listens to AWOL Nation because it's edgy, and it's
just to show you just show a little bit of your tattoos just to show the kids that you're cool. Right.
He's edgy. He's dabbled in the devil's devices before
this would be less of a beard and more of a patch.
Yeah, you'd have a soul patch for sure. So I did a little bit of digging. One of the criteria, and you may have mentioned this, Gary, but we haven't really fixated on it, was that to be on the list, you had to wrestle 20 matches in that time span. And it doesn't look like Thunder Rosa wrestled 20 matches in that time period. Just every list, match list and things that I've looked up has her at about half that. So that could be why, not making concession for them overlooking her, but you've gotta think that there's a logical reason like that she's not on the list. And if she only wrestled, 10, 11 matches in that time period, I can see why they would overlook her. If they wanted to get that technical, which obviously they do because they have all these rules.
I just feel like
and I hate you.
Maybe NWA matches, but she's wrestled aggressively. And
let's not forget, she took time off for MMA fights.
And you wouldn't count that though?
Would MMA fights? But
sure.
I'm talking she took months off to prepare for like one fight for MMA. So that, even if you counted that, I'm looking at this list here. This is cagematch.net. And if you're talking about July of last year through July of this year, she didn't wrestle at all from May until January. So there's half a year right there that she was off. She wrestled at Hard Times in January. She had 2 power matches. She wrestled at Respect Volume 11. And then she wrestled at the Independent Wrestling Expo Saturday.
So what's the cutoff again now?
July through July.
July to July.
She wrestled a lot before July of last year. So she was on Power. When she was on Power, that was, let's see.
Yeah, I've got her down for 11 matches.
Yeah,
singles and tag team.
So
let me look at how many matches Aldis wrestled in between from July to July. From July to July, he wrestled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But hold on, that's the wrong July. He wrestled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nick Aldis wrestled 11 matches from July to July. So it's arbitrary, which is, I think we all instinctively, that's what we thought, He wrestled Tim Storm at Power, wrestled in a tag team match against with Colt Cabana and Ken Anderson against James Storm, Royce Isaacs, and Tom Latimer. He wrestled Trevor Murdoch. He wrestled with the Rock and Roll Express against Hernandez, Homicide, and Latimer. Wrestled James Storm, Ricky Starks, Ricky Morton, Flip Gordon. Wrestled against the Rock and Roll Express with Isaacs. Wrestled Brody King and Marty Skrull in January. And then on February the 9th, he wrestled in that match with Roosh against Marty Skrull and PCO. 11 matches. So if they're saying that the 20-match criteria is what's there, but we're going to suspend it because it's Nick Aldis, which they should. I'm not saying that's the wrong rationale. I'm just saying, why didn't they hold that same standard for Thunder Rosa? She wrestled in, 11 matches exactly?
Yeah. So this other source I'm looking at has Nick Aldis wrestling in, let's see, if we're going to go back to July of last year, 17 matches. This is cagematch.net.
And I think
and so so they did say this. So the caveat was 20 matches. Here was the criteria: 20 matches in the time period, at least one match in 7 separate months, to keep it from being like you wrestled every day for a month.
Right? Yeah, I was just looking at some article and it didn't go into detail on all of those criteria.
It also said concessions were made if the person was on track to meet that, but had to stop because of COVID. So I can imagine Nick Aldis at 17 matches, they can assume he would have had 3 more matches in the last 6 months. Right?
And they're counting tag matches too, though. So you would have to assume that Thunder Rosa, and they're obviously leaving out matches because we don't see the King Shane Williams match that we aired for about 16 minutes, on there. And that's a match. And so there's surely something like that for Thunder Rosa that we're overlooking. It just seems to me, it seems arbitrary to me, on track. What do you mean on track? How can you judge that?
I'm showing the Shane Williams match on my list.
I'm just looking at mine over here on the.
Yeah, but I'm saying this list I'm looking at now, which has him in 17 matches from July to July, which seems more accurate. They can argue the fact with that he was on pace had COVID not hit to hit 20 matches. He would have wrestled 3 more matches.
You have a more complete list, and your list is showing 11 matches for Thunder Rosa.
Yes, but it shows this source, cagematch.net, that we're saying is accurate for Nick Aldis, is showing even less for Thunder Rosa. It's showing 4 matches.
So there's 11 matches that we can clearly establish.
Right.
Tag team matches, and I'm telling you, and I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but Thunder Rosa would have gotten in between January and July. She would have gotten in 8-9 more matches. The trajectory
rule is getting those in the next 2 weeks. But
exactly. So I'm saying the trajectory rule is ridiculous. It's arbitrary. It's completely arbitrary.
It's speculative.
Well, especially during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like that rule is tough. Like that's.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where that journalistic license or whatever comes in, and that's the gray area, and that's where you get into it becomes opinion and not fact. So you can speculate for some people, oh, they would have gotten 20 matches, but not other people. Oh, well, we assume.
Yeah, but how do you not just go ahead and establish? I mean, I'm sorry, but like, and I'm not yelling at you, Will. I'm sorry.
It seems like you are, and I'm getting very.
He definitely was.
But I'm like listening to all of this, and I'm like, how do you not already like automatically the champions in every company, how are they not already like ranked? Like, how is that not already a thing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And can I say we're on? This is After Dark, right? Can I say a curse word?
Yeah, we're on After Dark.
Okay, this is shoo-shoo. This is just straight up shoo-shoo. All right. I mean, they just did a freaking feature article on her in the previous issue, guys. If you don't see the unfairness in this, the injustice in this, then you are not you personally, but you generically, you are a moron if you don't think that Thunder Rosa was robbed. They just did a major article on her in last month's issue of PWI. And in the very next month's issue, she's the one notable female wrestler that's not in the top 500. Ashley Vox, who is a great wrestler and deserves everything she gets, but she's ranked and Thunder Rosa isn't.
Is Becky Lynch
that is
in this
unbelievable.
Bitch? Like, I don't even see Becky Lynch here.
It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's just like, yeah, I mean, how do you – I don't know.
There's no argument that justifies it. Matches or continuity or projected. I don't care what their metrics are. Their metrics are stupid. And this is an insult.
Rob loves them. Rob's a subscriber, so I give him even more leeway to make that decision.
Look what's happening right now.
But damn, 500 is Dan the Dad. Now you're just getting. I mean, I apologize to Dan the Dad. I don't know you personally. I'm just saying, if you got Dan the Dad at number 500 and Thunder Rosa, the NWA Women's World Champion, is not even ranked, there's something crazy happening here. This is a little bit fishy. This is, I don't know, whatever. It's cray. My dogs is even yelling in the background.
They're pissed. Your dogs are so mad. Listen,
they're like, what the hell?
I think we can all agree.
What was that? What they said, Gary?
Let me just say this. We can all agree that Thunder Rosa was robbed. I think that the three of us and everyone in the chat can also agree we don't need a damn magazine to tell us who the best wrestlers are either.
No, but it's fun.
While it's fun to talk about, we're debating, we're fighting with ghosts because we're talking about some dudes and it's probably political. They're sitting in an office and conference room somewhere and they're trying to do their journalistic job. Stuff like this is going to happen. It doesn't take anything away from what Thunder Rosa has been able to accomplish and what she's going to accomplish moving forward. I mean, hell, you just rattled off her schedule for the next couple of weeks, and it's insane. Nobody in the wrestling industry is working harder than her. So, I mean, her work speaks for itself, and she probably doesn't need to be on a list, although it would be nice. But she doesn't need to be on a list. And honestly, it probably motivates her even more that she's not on there. And she's like, I'll show them,
Well,
it's going to give us.
I'm not telling any secrets out of school. I mean, everybody that's here for the After Dark portion of this thing, I mean, I guess you could watch it later on YouTube, but I mean, our people are in the chat room. Brian Roast is here right now.
My man, Brian Roast is in here.
Yeah.
Dude, man, we have been thinking about you all day, brother. I know that we've just been thinking about you all day, man.
Yeah, I hope you're doing good, Brian. Thank you for jumping in here with us. But yeah, he points out she's had 21 matches this year. From July to December last year, 40 matches. So,
well, those didn't get reported to the websites we were looking at. So maybe we need to pick up the ball with that and start updating some of these listings because.
Well, I think so for our guys, we do. You know,
yeah.
I just think that if you're Pro Wrestling Illustrated, it's not like it's just like some. You know, it's not some minor thing. It's Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I mean, we've seen the iconic images, the magazine cover.
Well, everybody writes it off like it doesn't even matter, or, you know, like it's an easy thing for a lot of wrestlers. They'll say like, well, it doesn't matter. But but you see it when it comes out, it's got word of mouth. Like people talk about it. People are interested. People want to know. And I don't care what you say. If you're a professional wrestler, you're interested where you go in the rankings. Ultimately, sure, like, I mean, you shouldn't let it predict your success or failure in anything, but it's fun to look at. It's fun to watch and see where you fall into place. For what it's worth too, Rob, before you jump back in, I mean, Brian Roast is saying in the chat, it feels like a lot of the ladies were listed because they primarily did intergender matches. So that's another interesting, like, I mean, there's
just another arbitrary feature of that, you know. I mean, it's like it's PWI, it's Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It's the standard bearer print magazine for professional wrestling of all time. And if you're going to do a PWI 500, if you're going to take the time to do it right. That's all I'm saying. And this was it's egregious. This is not right. I mean, this is like. And this is no shade on Brian Solomon because Brian Solomon, I think, would probably, you know, he's an ally of the NWA. He's a knowledgeable guy. He's written the NWA Bible that Will is holding in his hand right now at this moment. You know, he's a friend of our show. This is a guy who knows his stuff. I cannot believe that they overlooked this. I cannot believe it. It's
well, we talk about like the rules being like these. The differences in competition and that sort of thing, like I don't know. There were a lot of things they acted like with context. I mean, look, I think Keith Lee's a badass, right? Like, I think Keith Lee is awesome. I think Keith Lee is going to be one of the top stars in WWE coming out of 2020. He's going to be the man. I think he deserves it. I think he's good. But right now, he is ranked at number 11 on this PWI 500 list. So, like, by every metric that you have to rank this list, like, Keith Lee's been just, like, hanging out in NXT. It's only been recently he started working himself up in the ranks. Like, he's had his ups and downs for whatever reason in his career, like, with NXT. He's just now coming out of that. And he's been the NXT world champion. But I'm saying, like, if you're talking about, like, I mean, yeah, he's got excellent match quality and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to be very clear that I'm not trying to knock Keith Lee, but I'm like, what's the rule here? Like, if you want to go overall, like, actually, the more I think about it, Jon Moxley makes perfect sense, right? Like, Jon Moxley got to the top in WWE. Jon Moxley left WWE technically close to the top, you know, like he felt where the tide was going and he left. And then he went straight to the top in AEW. But right before that, he went straight to the top in New Japan. And he's the current U.S. champion in New Japan. He's the world champion in AEW. Like, Jon Moxley, like, you want to talk about somebody who's, like, knocking it out of the park. I mean, that guy's all over the place. And he's dominant, and he does great promos. I mean, there's a lot of things you can rank him on. Chris Jericho, same way. Like, I don't get it. Like, I love Keith Lee, but I'm like, Kofi Kingston's number 9. And I'm like, all right, Kofi. Seth is number 8. And I'm like, these guys are world champions, right? But I just don't. It's not like they've been booked like it. Both those guys have been kind of forced into. I don't know. Will, am I crazy?
No, I mean, but again, I mean, if you're gonna make a list of something and call it the best of some, I mean, not everyone's gonna agree. And we come from a very different camp of wrestling fan. We're not your typical wrestling fan. When you say, hey, we consider ourselves typical wrestling fans because we love real pro wrestling. But that, the idea of pro wrestling and the blurred line between that and sports entertainment now, it's thrown everything for a loop. So that's why I say, like, yeah, this is fun to talk about and it's fun to debate. But at the end of the day, the people making this list are obviously not anywhere close to where we would go. Because we can sit and we can rationalize the top 25. Most of them be like, I can see that. I can see that. But that wouldn't be who we would put in the top 25 by a long shot, So it's like, we can debate it all we want to, but until there's like a NWA magazine and they do their own list, like it's not going to be from the same type of wrestling minds that we have here and that are in the chat with us right now.
It just drives me nuts that you got like some of these people in some places and like Big E ain't even in the top 100. It's like, all right, well, Big E like has been a multi-time tag team champion. Like what's happening? Will, do us all a favor, buddy, and hold that book up again.
Gladly.
Requests in the chat. What's that book?
Gladly. This is Pro Wrestling FAQ, Brian Solomon. And I saw James Lawrence asking about this. This is a must-have. Rob has 2 copies of this because he likes to spend his money. But
I read both of them.
Simultaneously. He starts. he holds one in one hand and starts at the back, and one in the other hand starts at the front, and he just goes all the way through.
Because what if I have a crick in my neck?
Exactly. You want to have it. You want to have it at every angle. But go watch a few weeks back. We actually interviewed Brian Solomon, and it was a great interview. So go watch that interview and then buy this book on Amazon.
Absolutely, you should definitely do that. So we had some questions, I think, going on in the chat. We don't have to spend all day long on the PWI 500. Guys, ask them in the chat if you got some stuff you want to talk about. I think I wrote down one somewhere and lost it, I believe. I remember earlier on in the chat, people were asking, and luckily Front Row with being courteous, or Turbo, I apologize, Wrestling with the MMA. One of you mentioned it should save it for the after show, and that was very considerate of you guys and thoughtful. That's why you are producers of the show, moderators. It was that Aaron Stevens is the current national champion of NWA, but why should anybody else get another, like a shot at the world's heavyweight championship if Aaron Stevens is the national champion? And that's supposed to be like when James Storm held that belt, that was the discussion. It was like, well, that's your ticket to the world's heavyweight championship. Like what's the deal there?
It's a good point.
A legit question. Go ahead, Will.
No, I mean, I think it's just, it's a matter of storyline and do they want it? I think Aaron Stevens is relishing in his national title reign. I don't think he's you look at him and James Storm, they're 2 different styles of wrestlers, and James Storm, it made sense for him to come out and want that 10 pounds of gold. For Aaron Stevens, I think it makes a little more sense for him to kind of relish in the moment of being the national champion for a while. And who knows when we get back to quote unquote normal, maybe he will come out and demand a title shot. But I think if that's what happens every time, that's going to get boring for wrestling. If you just know that every national champion is just going to immediately then request a world title shot, it's going to be a little too predictable and a little too, there's not going to be any depth to that title. So I think right now he's bringing some a different flavor to that title.
Right. I mean, you think about how many times is there a title versus title match in WWF? You know, we obviously think of like Ultimate Warrior and Hogan, you know, and I think Ultimate Warrior was the first to hold both belts simultaneously. So it's not something that happens often. This is something that should put you in contention. And Magnum TA was obviously on a track to get that shot. It should mean something though, and it should be a platform to get that guy to that level where he's getting a shot, just like the TV title with the Lucky 7 series is intended to provide every competitor with the potential of getting a world championship shot. So it should mean that, but I completely get what Will is saying, that if you win the national title, then the next step is this. It's too programmatic. It's too fixed. It doesn't feel right. But luckily, just in God's providence and God's Presbyterian providence, it typically doesn't happen that way. So Aaron Stevens deserves a shot, or whoever holds that belt holds a shot. It seems like they were working something between he and Trevor Murdoch right before the shutdown, and that might have led to something with Nick Aldis that we don't know, because they're obviously heavily promoting Aldis versus Skrull, which I would still like to see. But, you know, we'll see what happens. Aaron Stevens should get a shot, and ultimately he will at some point.
Listen, I mean, I think there's a lot of debate between back and forth, heels and faces, and we've had that discussion on here multiple times now, and that sort of thing. I think Aaron Stevens strikes me as the kind of person that is not going to try to put himself one-on-one against Nick Aldis unless he feels like he is in an advantageous position. Like, I don't feel like Aaron Stevens I don't know that Rob would agree with me here, but I don't think Aaron Stevens wants any part of Nick Aldis one-on-one at 100%. Like, I just don't buy it.
Huh, really?
Yeah, really.
Well, state your case, Rob.
My case is one that Aaron Stevens, Damian Sandow, whatever you want to call him, is a legitimate athlete and a legitimate world-class wrestler. And he may be naive. He may be deluded about who he is, but this is a man who on NWA Power was just this close to breaking the Mongrovian Oak. Okay, I don't think he has any, he's very clever and he's crafty, and he won't mind hiding underneath the ring while everybody else does the dirty work and make calculated decisions like that. But I don't think that Aaron Stevens is ducking anybody. His character might lend one to think that he might be a little naive or delusional, but ducking or afraid, I don't think so. Now, do I think that Aaron Stevens can beat Nick Aldis? No, he can't. But I don't think that he's ducking him.
Wow.
My favorite thing is to hear Rob, Dr. Rob, push in the same sentence real life and authenticity and the Mongrovian Oak in the same breath.
But Will, I seen it. I seen the oak. Gary seen it.
I'm sure
we was there, bro. I seen it.
I'm sure you
saw Ricky Starks break that Mongrovian Oak across his dang back.
Yeah. I got a lapel pin made from Mongrovian steel. It's hard. That's hard steel.
The only thing hard here is like how hard it is to swallow your BS right now. I will say it is fun to finally find the line where Rob will turn against the national treasure, though.
I didn't turn against no national treasure.
You just said that Aaron Stevens would take him to school. You said he'd
beat
his ass. You said that. You said Aaron Stevens would punk out Nick Aldis.
First of all, we're not friends no more because I did not. Don't put that evil on me. Brian Rosa said that. And Brian Rosa is my friend. I love him. But he said that, not me. I said Aldis would win. Could Stevens win? Yeah, he's a world-class athlete. Any world-class athlete could win. But 9 times out of 10, no, he cannot beat Nick Aldis. So
9.5 times out of 10.
But what do you work for the PWI 500 now?
Obviously not, because I'm accurate. So listen, what I'm saying.
I like how you mispronounced accurate. You said, I'm accurate.
I'm accurate. I'm accurate, baby. No, I love it. I was just going to say that you got freaking Brutai to our Caesar over here. Brian Rosa is in here saying Aaron Stevens would destroy Nick Aldis. So I don't, all right, whatever. The other question is,
I can't believe you would say that, Brian Rosa. You know what's going on between the question mark and Thunder Rosa, and you know that Aaron Stevens isn't cahoots with all that. I can't believe you collaborated with them. And they're my people. I trained in the Mongrovian dojo. So,
Donzo.
That's what they call them in Monrovia. They call them Donzos.
I believe you trade with Gonzo from like the Muppets. That's what I believe.
I'm about to go up an octave. First of all.
Oh God, I gotta find my earplugs.
Oh my God. Oh, can we make this more serious? Front Row's pointing out there was a discussion earlier about artistic integrity versus taking a paycheck. Wrestlers need to feed their families, but where's the line? I think that's what plays into a lot with this like Mike Bennett fight right now. Like Mike Bennett was doing some stuff. I mean, he I'm not gonna judge anybody. Listen, I'm not judging anybody who's ever made it to WWE. And if I do, call me out on it. Anybody in the chat, anybody here in the Bearded Trio, you call me out on it. If I ever judge anybody in the WWE who's made it that far and say that they're like worthless or they're crap or anything, knock me down off my pedestal, because anybody who's made it there, man, you did it. You did it. You made it. You reached the dream. You got hired by the WWE. That's what, like, I would dare to say 98 to 99% of anybody who gets into professional wrestling has some sort of a feeling that that's where they'd want to go. That out of the way, I mean, they Mike Bennett was on fire. Mike Bennett was doing his thing and had a name for himself. And I wasn't kidding earlier. There was buzz. I remember it when he got brought in. I didn't know who Mike Bennett was. That's what I'm saying. I didn't even know anything about that buzz, but I knew there was buzz when he got brought in. I was like, oh, who's this dude? And I had to check him out. And I got excited about him. And then they brought him and Maria in with that banger of a theme song. And it was like, I don't even know what this is, but this is badass. It felt huge. It felt like something. And that was the peak. That was the peak of what they did with that dude. And I don't think any of that has anything to do with Mike Bennett. So I just want to throw that out there right now. I think that was strictly
just rambling.
They didn't know what to do with it. Am I rambling?
No, I mean, one might say you were, but it was cool.
No, I'm saying the dude came in and he had that debut where he like busted in during one of the shows and had that theme song hit. He and Maria walked out. People were on fire. Like, it felt like something, and they just never did anything with it. Sure. And then it's like, and he wanted out. He was one of those guys that like asked for his out. Back when you'd hear JR on the podcast talking about like, well, if talent's not happy, you just let them out. That's what you do. And I'm sorry if that sounds like I'm just trying to make fun of JR. I'm not, because I respect JR. But I'm saying he would say that. But then you'd see guys like Mike Bennett saying like, I want out. And then they wouldn't let him out. And then they like ended up like re-signing him for a lot of money. And he took it. And I'm sure we'll ask him. But anyway, long story short, what I'm saying is like these guys are taking the money. You watched the thing where your boy turned up on with the Nature Boy and Talking Shop-A-Mania. I mean, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. I mean, they re-signed.
Mike Bennett was there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson showed up on that show. They re-signed with the WWE after they had already planned on leaving. They said they would probably leave, but then they got the offer. They got the offer for the money, and they were like, all right, let's do it. And then they got released. You know, it was like they took the money first, and then they got released. I mean, that's the true story. That's what happened. So, like, and I'm not faulting them because, I mean, that amount of money is more money than I probably see in many, many years. So I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, like, there's a point there where you decide, like, for me in my life and my family, I'll just put up with the BS and I'll take the money. Does that make sense? I'm trying to say, like, the discussion is, it's like, where
yeah, I mean,
where is that line?
I mean, for me, the line is like a 200 grand. For 200 grand, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Or higher.
Then I'm saying
offer, 200 grand or best offer.
Then I'm saying the good Doc Simpson would definitely be a loyal WWE subservient.
Right. My values to be bought. Yes. No, it's not about I love this question. I think it's a valid question. It's not about the money. It's about what the money says. You know what I mean? And I think they typically those big money contracts, I don't feel like people, and I could be wrong on this, and maybe that this has happened in the past, but I don't feel like people are issuing these contracts out to just like bury somebody and sabotage them. I think you offer those big money contracts to people who have earned it, and that should be a testament to your career. Those things should generally align. Do they always? No, because we live in an imperfect world. But I don't demean somebody, or I don't come down on somebody for doing the best for themselves and their family. I mean, I think Nick Aldis is worth $1 million or more. I think Thunder Rosa is worth that. I mean, she should be making what she should be making, at least what Nick Aldis is making. She should be.
Okay, Rob, but I'm hearing what you're saying, and you're saying like that they earned it.
Yeah.
And I believe, and I'm not knocking the fact that they should have earned it.
They didn't earn it.
What?
I heard you.
This is why I sit here and don't say anything. I let you guys duke it out, and then I'll come in with my opinion. Go ahead.
No, I'm just hearing you say, like, well, I feel like they should pay them because they earned it. But then, yeah, okay, so they paid them that. No, they're paying them that amount of money because they care about their immediate competition, that they want to keep them from being able to make a payday anywhere else. So they're trying to predatory. They're
okay.
It's predatory. Like they're trying, and I'm not saying, I mean, listen, everybody's an individual. They make their decisions. So we're not trying to get into that territory. I know exactly where your conservative mind is going, but I'm saying that they're offering the money because they're like, this is probably enough. It's not because they earned it. It's because, like, what's the amount of money that I can pay this person to keep them from signing with AEW? That's what they're doing. It's
so, Gary. I just can't ascribe. I'm not in the business of ascribing motives to people. But if that, let's say you're right. Let's just grant that hypothesis that you're correct. They're saying then that I'm going to pay this person who has the ability to hurt me money to not hurt me. So it's still to their credit. It's still, I'm paying you for what you're worth. Either way you look at it. I don't think that's what they look at. I don't think that Vince McMahon is just out to throw money to be predatory and say, I want them to not work against me. But if he was, that still speaks to their credit, right?
The shit part is, what I'm saying is,
burn.
No, I'm just saying the shit part is that they do it, and then the person signs onto the deal. And granted, I would probably tell anybody right now that's a professional wrestler, and I'm not even a professional wrestler. So granted, you can tell me
not always.
Shit. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but anybody that signs a 5-year contract with anybody right now, I'm like, man, that's probably not even your best decision. If you believe in yourself and you value yourself, like
listen, Gary.
No, I know that's but I'm saying like a guy could sign right now a WWE contract for 5 years and say, like, I'm gonna make Rob Stenson's $200,000 a year, and they'd be like, for 5 years, that's fine. But then what does WWE do? They don't use you for 2, and then they drop your ass.
Well, that's not what these talent's thinking, though. The talent's thinking, look, here I am. I'm trying to be somebody. What if I go in year 1 and tear my Achilles tendon and I can't do anything? At least I've got safety for my family. At least I eat, and then at least, I'm a personality. I can still do things out of the ring. I mean, it's beyond that. I mean, there's so many implications here, but I don't think, and don't get me wrong, I'm not here justifying the WWE at all. You know where I stand on them, but I don't think that there's.
You literally sent me the email today that you got hired by the WWE.
If they told me today, hey, Stinson, look, you're 13 years from retirement in public education. Right now, I make pretty good money. I'm not going to lie. I make good for myself. My family's taken care of. I'm going to be set. But if they told me today, hey, for the next 5 years, we're going to pay you $1 million a year. For the next 5 years, you got to get your own health insurance. Or for 5 years, you're stacked. Will you do it? I'm like, where do I sign? No questions asked. You know why? Because I love my kids more than anything.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's like that's not even guaranteed. Like they could just drop you at any second. I'm
saying they drop you at any second?
They did.
They did. They did it to like over 20 people.
Yeah.
They did it in the middle of a pandemic where nobody was hiring.
Right, but they're getting freaking severance packages.
No, I don't even know. I don't know what their severance packages was.
But they are getting severance packages.
You hope.
They are. I promise you they are.
You hope. You hope.
Stinson, I will do it for $1 million a year. You can release me in 3 years.
All I'm saying is just like, listen, I get it. Dude, I get it. If I'm a professional wrestler and I'm just assuming the position, and we know what assuming means, I get it. The money that we're even talking about, us just like throwing around an amount like $200,000 a year, that's crazy. Like, because that ain't everybody. And WWE has that kind of money to throw around. Maybe AEW throwing around that kind of money. I don't know, but nobody else is. I can guarantee you that.
You're right.
And so the wrestlers are struggling. Like the wrestlers are doing what they can. They're taking the booking dates they can because they're trying to make as much money as they can in the time that they have with the ability that they have. I get that. So when somebody comes along and they say like, I'll give you 6 figures for this many years, it's like an easy amount to take because you're like, oh, Jesus, thank you. I get it. God bless WWE up until that point. That doesn't mean I can't hold them to a higher standard. They shouldn't have like some sort of protections in place for their workers that like, if you're gonna take them out of the market and you're gonna tell them this, but then you're gonna just like make them irrelevant and drop them after 3 years of the 5 years that you promised them, that's also bullshit. Like this is the same thing that we talk about. I mean, this applies to professional sports as well. It's like, let's say you're a professional football player. This team signs you. They give you a ton of money just to put you on the bench. Are you happy as a competitor? Are you happy as a player? Is that a good steward of that talent that you just threw all this money at when they want to play? No, that's why they go out and they say, I want to get out of this team. I want to trade. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's like, I mean, we've heard it talked about on podcasts. I think, I forget his name, but Kurt Hawkins was talking about it. And he was even talking about Gallows and Anderson. They've talked about it. They were throwing an ungodly amount of money to sit on the bench. Like these are guys, they're putting their careers in the WWE's hands, their reputations. We're talking about Mike Bennett, who has been made a fool of for the last year in storylines, but he had to do it because they were paying him all this money. Is that right? Or should these guys be free to make that choice? Now, I get contracts. I get all that. I get money. I get all this. And I get what you're saying about, to their credit, they've gotten themselves to a position where they can do whatever the hell they want. And you're right. But the question is, like, is that right? Not can they do that, but is that respectable?
Right. And there are two different questions, though. I mean, we're talking about respectability and companies treating talent right. That's completely different from whether talent should take those deals in their own interest. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're somebody coming up and you've gone through the power plant or you've gone through NXT and you get a chance, let's look at all of those 20 names that were just released from WWE. What was the biggest name? Who was the biggest name that was just released? You guys tell me, because I don't watch WWE. Rusev. That's the name that I know. Now, you and I both know that based off of the body of work he's done in the WWE, and prior to that, Rusev can now, based on that platform, he can go and still make a living for himself doing this sport. It ain't going to be to the tune of what they were paying him before, but they still set him up, and he still had the money. And if he invested it wisely and was responsible financially as a human being and as a man, then it's, setbacks happen, but you still have a responsibility as an individual to manage your finances appropriately and those kinds of things. So you have to build in for contingencies and setbacks and unforeseen circumstances and all that.
Yeah,
Any of us can lose a job. Any of us can lose a job.
I know it's a whole thing, and I get it. I'm just saying that, like, there's something, there's got to be some part of you that sees, like, in the humanity of this thing, that, like, we've got in the chat room, Andrew McKinney checking it out. The co-presidents WWE fired a while ago. He could see some nice severance packages. There's no information on wrestler severance at all. So when they're released from this thing, so what they do is they take these people who are in positions of, they don't have any leverage. And they're saying, like, I can pay you much more money than you can pay struggling on the independent scene. I can do it. And I'll give you a contract to pay you this amount for 5 years. And then within that 5 years or 10 years or 3 years or whatever, it's like they can make you worthless. They can do their best to make sure that you are not going to affect them if you're let go. And then they do that, and then they let you go, because you're not guaranteed anything. You're just like, I hope I get my 5 years out of this. And then 3 years in, they're like, furloughed or released in the middle of a pandemic. They're like, these MFers ain't going to sign anywhere else. They're not going to do anything else. They're not going to come back and bite us. They're the least of the people that are probably going to do something that's going to matter to impact ratings for us. You can't tell me that's not what they're thinking, and that's what they're doing. I'm sorry. I still think that there's something about this, and I know that they're individuals that sign contracts, but it's like there's still something just gross about all of that.
Well, again, we're doing a lot of motive ascribing here, and there's a lot of inherent, I think, class warfare philosophy going on.
But motive based on a complete history of the stupid company.
It's not just these new guys that they do this to. Okay, it's not like that. These guys are the only guys that have ever missed. There's been people that have followed through on contracts that have still been buried, like Dusty Rhodes or Terry Taylor. So it's not like this is just a pattern that's just this. And, we're going to now do this notorious, nefarious thing with these little guys. And, this is the way the WWE operates. But I'm just saying, I guess my only point is, and I'm not, like, deeply disagreeing with any of you guys on any of this. And if I am, that's okay. I still love you. Regardless, I'm going to give you a personal phone call after this, just to make sure we're still cool. But I'm just saying.
Better not call me, because I'll be asleep.
I'm still calling you. You don't have to take the call. I'm still calling you. I'm still calling Front Row, who, like, this is the first time he's ever disagreed with me in public. But but I'm saying, as an independent contractor, as a person trying to further my career, and as a family man who's got bills, responsibility, mouths to feed, I'm taking the money. There's nothing wrong with taking the money, and the money says something about their value on you.
Nobody's talking about the people that are taking the money. Nobody's talking about them. Everybody knows you're trying to just make the best decision for your life and your family. I have no judgment for those people, because I'm like, they're just trying to do the best thing they could possibly do to get by.
That's all I'm saying.
But I'm saying there is something gross about the corporations using that to their advantage.
That's my point. And my point, like, Rob, nothing you've
How
said.
dare the corporations use that to their advantage? I mean, it's not like
seriously. I mean, how dare they? I don't think it's decent. Like, I will agree with that statement. You said it sarcastically. That's my outlook, because there's truth to everything you said, and it can be, quote, to their credit that they have gotten themselves to a place where they've got just money they can throw to avoid having competition. That's fine. Do I respect that? Hell no. So the question's not, is that to their credit? Is that honorable? No, it's not.
Well,
it's not a way to treat people. It's not a way to treat
decision that's ever been made at the corporate level that's been good, that's not been a corporate decision. Tell me one decision involving Ric Flair, Thunder Rosa, Nick Aldis that's not been a corporate decision. Tell me one. And they all are.
If it was flaunted in front of
good for the company, some are better for the individual. They're all corporate decisions. David Marquez will tell you that.
If it was flaunted in front of my face like it was with these people's livelihood that we're talking about right now, I would be just as disgusted with it. So you tell me one that is equally as, terrible as what we've seen in the last year.
When you enter a company like WWE, you're taking a calculated risk. You know that. They're taking a calculated risk based on 40, 50 years of content that's been put in front of our faces.
They're also taking a risk that, like, at the time, especially for like most of these people, that there was literally no other option except keep getting paid whatever an independent promoter would pay them.
Right. So we're living in the world of professional wrestling for most guys is not an easy life. And there's only going to be a handful of people that ever rise to the level of a Thunder Rosa, a Nick Aldis, a John Cena, a Rock. It's only going to be a handful of people. That's not everybody. When you enter this business, you're taking a calculated risk, and you're agreeing, I'm going to accept this contract and and the booker is the shot caller. He makes the shots. He calls the shots. That's how it is in pro wrestling. So, it makes no sense. And don't get me wrong, Will or Gary, I agree with you. There are a lot of shitty calls that have been made, but I'm talking about if the question is, where is the line crossed? The line is crossed at whatever amount of money that the talent is willing to accept to pay their bills and to justify them being there. Like for me,
you support unions.
I do support unions. I support unions and independent contractors. But I'm
grin that just hit your face, Rob. Because I'm thinking like this is the whole thing that like friggin' Jesse Ventura back in the day like wanted to start wrestlers unions, and like Bret Hart like entertained the possibility. It's like they don't, I don't know. It's just tough to see that like they don't have another option sometimes. They're taking the best options that's presented to them, because like another year of the same old could end everything. And so they take the best thing that's presented to them, but that could also ruin them. You know what I'm saying? Like it sucks that these people that are busting their ass and actually providing the work, providing the labor, you could argue. I'm really trying to avoid getting all into this, but it sucks that the people that are really trying to that are the talent are forced into this position that they have to succumb to like whatever these corporate people decide, like, well, you're worth this much to me right now, and I could make your next couple of years better. Probably, no guarantee. I can maybe make you better. At least for the next year, you probably won't have to bust your ass 300 days out of the year if you come with me. It just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any sense. It just drives me nuts. It's predatory, and I still stand by it. I think that wrestlers and what I guess where I'm ultimately at is I wish that wrestlers ultimately, and they can't do it individually, but ultimately I wish all wrestlers would get together and realize that they have the power in this situation, that they have the agency to control this situation.
You're arguing for wrestlers to collectively bargain.
Yeah.
And they should be able to do that, just like in any other industry. But that's not the reality that we're in right now. And wrestlers operate as independent contractors, making rational decisions for their own careers, taking calculated risks. That's the spirit of free enterprise. It's the spirit of capitalism. I don't oppose it. Do I think that bad decisions are made? Yeah. I do think that bad decisions at the corporate level are made, but still, they're in the position to make the decisions, and wrestlers who are the bread and butter of this. They are the heroes of this, no doubt. Without them, it doesn't exist. Well, the fans, they don't exist, but the corporate cog is also essential to the process too. And so, we're quick to want to demonize when Well, don't point at me like that.
No, I was really just trying to get focused back on my face. Hey, man, the thing is like, I think you can also be like a corporate overlord and not just be a complete dickhead. It's possible.
I'm just saying it's not the worst thing in the world to be a dickhead.
Well, we know that's
bad.
That's definitely your gimmick.
True.
Oh my God. Is this where we wrap this thing?
I think we have to, man. I'm not.
Oh my God. All right. Well, who knew that this is where this conversation was going to go? I certainly didn't, but here we are. I don't even remember how we got here anymore. But I'm seeing like Gary's eyes are opened by James Lawrence in the chat, and I don't even know anymore. But we want to thank everybody in the chat room for joining us. James Lawrence, Andrew McKinney, Front Row, Wrestling with the MMA, Brian Rosa, God bless you, Damian Redmond. Like you guys are what make this whole thing worth it. We love hanging out with you guys on Sundays and Tuesdays, and anytime we get a chance. Some of you just showed up randomly on a Friday when we busted out an exclusive Nick Aldis interview. This is good stuff. I love hanging out with you guys. I hope you'll join us again on at least Sunday. And just since it's just us peoples here right now, we're going to be talking to Mike Bennett tomorrow night. And it's not going to be a live chat. We're just gonna take the guy in, just sit down. The three of us are going to grill him, and we're going to talk to him. We've already confirmed it. It's happening. And we're going to talk to him about Nick Aldis. We're going to talk about UWN Prime Time Live. It's up to us, guys. If you want other options besides BS, WWE, and all of the corporate overlords, if you want other options, we got to support independent wrestling. We got to support the people that are trying to make other things happen, and that includes UWN, that includes Mission Pro. That's everything there. We're trying to make that happen as well. We hope you guys will join us in that fight. We want to give people like Thunder Rosa, hell, even Nick Aldis, Allison K, Zicky Dice, whoever else. We want to give these people options. We want to give them the opportunity to say, like, we've made a name for ourselves and we can go wherever the hell we feel like going. And we want to support that. We want to be a part of that. I think that's fair, right, fellas?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So join us next time. We'll probably do a premiere for that Mike Bennett episode, so we'll talk to you there, if not sooner. If nothing else, we'll see you live on Sundays. That's where we are. You know how to find us on the Twitter devices and the Instagrams and everywhere else. You can talk to us. The Discord. Join the Discord. Hit the bio at any of those social medias. You can join the Discord. Until next time, though, you guys enjoy your gravy cake, please.